Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Random Heathen Ramblings podcast, where we discuss all sorts of things Germanic heathenry related. My name is Jesse, and I'm your host. Let's get into it.
The RHR workshop is dedicated to the old ways, offering a wide selection of animist ritual supplies, divination tools, altar goods, and home decor, including premium reindeer hides imported from traditional herders in northern Finland. Whether you're just starting your spiritual journey or looking to expand your collection with a custom drum, we have everything you need. Visit our online store at thealvatir.com and discover the beauty of mountain spirit.
Alrighty, folks. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, so hail to you all. Thank you for watching this monthly live stream, and a very special one at that, because I said so. No, but for real, we are streaming live. Let's just get a couple of folks here recognized. Hello, Sarah Explorer. What's up, yo, over there on the YouTube platform. Thank you for watching. But yes, this is a very special this is a special monthly stream because this is the 7-year anniversary of Midgard Musings. You heard that right. This has been going on, this channel, this platform, this thing has been going on for 7 years now, give or take. This month is the 7th year kind of milestone. And with me today, I'm going to be bringing on some very special people to talk with me about stuff. Some inspirers of the community, some supporters of what I do, and just some genuinely good people who I've come in contact with over the years, some longer than others. So thank you in advance to my guests who I'll be bringing on here in just a moment. Before we get into that, I do just want to remind everybody that if you're looking to help support what this podcast is about, there are several ways of doing so. The best way that you can do it, of course, just by watching or listening, sharing them around on your social medias. We're on a number of different platforms, including Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. But if you want to watch the full versions of these shows, because these are monthly live streams that don't get published on YouTube every month or every week. So the full video versions of the show are only available on my Patreon. You'll see that scrolling down here at the bottom of the screen. Head over to patreon.com/MidgardMusings. A $1 pledge gets you access to all of my video content in full length. So when you join at the Carl tier, you get a little end screen credit, thanking you for your support. Plus, you get access to all of my videos that get published every week. So that's, some 3 to 4, sometimes more episodes every month. It's a great way to help fund what this podcast does and all the production costs that go into it. But if you head out into the description area of this video that you're watching right now, there's a Linktree link there at the top, and it takes you to all the ways that you can follow me, keep track of what I do, and show your support in that way when and as you can. Real quick here, thank you for Michael Thacker joining us slightly late, but happy 7th. Thank you, sir. And Michael, we will be getting to one of your comments or questions here in just a moment. So now that we've got all of the housekeeping stuff out of the way, I'm going to bring to the stage and welcome in each of my guests one at a time. So here we go. Boom, 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 boom. And yet one more. Boom. And we have everybody here. Patrick is experiencing some technical difficulties, but he'll be in and out, hopefully, when and as he can. But as you can see here, folks, we've got a full stage of wonderful people joining this 7-year anniversary live stream. So welcome to Amelia. Welcome to Matthew Sarah. Welcome, Blake Russell. Welcome, Eric Wordweaver Shervin, to the 7-year anniversary live stream. Welcome, ladies and gents. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Good to be here.
All right.
As always, happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, I think while we're waiting for Patrick is going to be trying to co-host with me tonight. He's just having some technical things, but that's the way it kind of goes sometimes. You can't always. Sometimes it is what it is. And there he is. We see his face, but it's coming in and out. So while he's working on that, let's start with I don't know. Since we'll just kind of go from the top row down to the to the bottom row here. So we'll start with Amelia. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. So my name is Amelia. I'm with Riverpine Kindred. We've been around for almost 7 years now. Our anniversary is coming up in September. We work in the Arklatex area of Texarkana, Texas, and we host meetups in Texarkana as well as the Shreveport, Louisiana area, as well as we do live stuff online for the online community. And we do a lot of community outreach with we do Yule for the kids every year at our banquet that we have to give them gifts like jackets, shoes, backpacks, and we need things like that. And then we also do a school supply drive for the kids for back to school and everything, as well as we're working on pantry stuff. But as I said, we've been slowly working towards all these great things, as well as our meetups that we host every month. And you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and many of the other pages for platforms.
That's great. Yeah, and everybody too, in the description area below, whether you check it out now or later, just realize that everybody here does have some social medias or places where you can find and support what they do because they'll have their own things that they're doing. So definitely check the links down in the description below. There's several of them for River Pine Kindred. So thank you again. Amelia has been a guest on the show before, a couple of times I think, as I recall. One pretty recently.
Mhm.
But thank you for coming back and gracing us with your presence and talking about some heathen stuff. And thank you for everything that you do for the community in your area.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Next in line, we have Mr. Matthew Sarah, another previous guest and longtime listener and watcher of Midgard Musing. So, Matthew, thank you for being here, sir. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell folks a little bit about you and what you do?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Sarah. Um, I've been acting my whole life and making music my whole life. And then I started walking this path um, since the Heilung first Red Rocks ritual is when I started to really focus on this hardcore, I guess. And since then, I decided to make try my hand at making Nordic folk music and have been doing so since then, and have been having a great time doing that. And gotten to do a couple workshops with the drummers from Heilung, one of which I got to talk to Jesse about, where we talked about how to make uh, rhythms from the drum from the sounds of animals in nature. I think we focused on birds, but that's something I learned from Jacob Lund from Heilung. And yeah, just I'm happy to be here. And I've been watching Jesse for a couple of years, and it's pretty cool to be on this anniversary podcast with him and everybody else here. Jesse, I think you might be muted.
Look at you, man. Way to stay on it, man. I'm glad you got this. I'm glad you got this under control. Because I need a. You ever watch Joe Rogan? Right, he's got Jamie or whoever over there doing his side screen stuff. Like I need a Jamie in my life. I need to clone myself and figure that part out. But thank you. But yeah, thank you, Matthew, for telling us a little bit about yourself. And yeah, he does have his music available, I guess, on SoundCloud and on YouTube, which are linked down in the description below. So if you guys want to listen, we're actually going to hear something and see something of Matthew's musical prowess a little bit later on in the show somewhere. We got something that we're going to share with you that he shared around in some of the online groups and stuff. I know, but it's something um, that he did himself, and I kind of helped with a little portion of collaboration effort. So it's great to have you here, Matthew, and thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you.
All right, let me get a quick comment up here before we move on. Here we got the philosophical pitbull. I know who that is. Says Hey, folks, just wanted to stop by and say howdy. By the way, it's me, Chris. Yes, I know Chris. And congrats on the 7 years. Thank you, Chris, and thank you for being here to watch and listen. Good to have you in the comments section there. Um, let's move over here to Mr. Blake Russell. Blake is a familiar face on the podcast, a familiar voice, I'd say. Um, so, Blake, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for the folks that maybe don't know who you are, sir?
All right, I am. I am. My name is Blake. I'm a musician. I'm also a Reiki master, a rune reader, multi instrumentalist, terrible vocalist. But I'm the sole proprietor of the music project Skaldic Works, and over the past 3 years or so, I've been learning. 3 or 4 years, I've been learning the tackle harpa and perfecting it. And I also have given some brief lessons on the instrument itself on my YouTube channel. I also have also been a heathen since probably about 2013, and I've got the opportunity to work musically with study again like Matt up here. I've also got the opportunity to meet and work with Jakob Lund from Halong, as well as I've gone, which I'm actually doing again this year. Here locally, it's May the 9th through the 11th. So that's a big opportunity for me, and I'm actually playing for that event, by the way. But
Very cool.
and what we're but also there I have also a chance to meet and talk with Matthias Northvig,
Oh, yeah,
and
Nordicsology. Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Matthias, yeah.
and Jackie Robert or Jackie Alberts, who is also engaged to Jakob right now. So as of
Nice.
a couple of months ago, I think it was they announced their engagement. But I guess that they all came last year to the Ravenwood Meadery, and they're coming back again, and that's something I'm very well looking forward to.
Thank you, Blake. Man, that's quite the introduction there.
Yeah,
That you and Matt here both have had a chance to work with
yeah.
members of Hylung, so that's pretty awesome.
Also, my music can be found. Again, I have videos on YouTube, but I also have my music on all your streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, um, iTunes, all the iHeartRadio, Pandora, everything.
Awesome. Yep, and Blake's got some. He's got a link tree also down linked below in the description area. So follow him on all of his socials and stay in tune with what he's got going on there. So thank you, Blake, for coming back on here and being a part of this as well.
Thank you.
And then we've got Patrick. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you for now. For the time
Okay.
being.
I don't mean to skip, but can I get you real quick to share a little bit about you? I know you're no stranger to the show here, but for folks maybe just tuning in or learning about you, give us a little bit of about yourself there, sir, or not. I was afraid that was going to happen. I was trying to get him. I was trying to get him before there. I'll do my best here just to fill in.
My name is Patrick Walsh. I've been a friend of Jesse's for a few years now. Hopefully the audio is going through here. But I'm a huge high lung advocate, a follower, a fan, a friend. He's just an amazing man.
Ah, man. Guy, I hate that, man. Patrick, we were hearing you a little bit and
No
you kind of
sound.
dipped out. You still there? No. All right. Well, guys, check out Patrick's group down there in the description area. I know a lot of people that watch my stuff already know who Patrick is. He was kind enough to try and work into his busy life, sort of co-hosting tonight's show, and he's muscling through as best he can. Sometimes technology just doesn't like to play nicely with us, so show him some support. His group is the Heilung Tribe Mental Spiritual Health. Oop, here he comes back. Let's try that one more time. You
And the
there?
sound's not coming through, I'm assuming.
We can
Can
hear
you
you.
guys hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Probably not.
We can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
And we can see you.
Cool.
For now.
So my name's Patrick Robert Walsh. I'm a huge Highland advocate. I made my own mental health support group for Highland. They give me a lot of inspiration, a lot of hope, but just as well as this wonderful man as Jesse, who has made this page, Midgard Musings. And I wish I had more time to share my story about this, but internet's been messed up. But Jesse and I go way back in time. I follow this channel on trying to perform a basic healing ritual, and he lent insight to me when I need the most. A genuine creator, a man who stands by his deeds. He does what he does with sincerity and a great heart. And he has helped me tremendously, more so than my immediate family. He's a man that inspires me every day, just as well as all my community supporters of Heilung and outside that, the Hina community, and just us being us and learning to adjust to the curveballs that life throws at us, to really accept our challenges and not fight against it, to really see ourselves in those harsh moments as well as those moments of blessings and fortune. And no matter what we do, we stand by our deeds. We are who we are. We love each other. We love ourselves. And that's the hard part sometimes, loving ourselves, to really step outside of our ego and realizing that progress is not a pace. Progress is not a race. It's at our own pace. We live by our deeds. We do what we do. We offer what we can. And I'm very happy if the audio is going through right now. But guys, Jesse is simply amazing. A man who's come a long way from his earlier content. He's just a great guy.
Oh man, Patrick, when you rewatch this or when you re-listen to this, man, thank you, and thank you for just really toughing it through, man. This has got to be so. Listen, I know what it's like in the frustration of battling technical, stuff here. Michael Thacker, he's like, it wouldn't be a live stream without the technical difficulties. It goes, it's part and parcel. And I want to just say, for everybody watching this on whatever platform, thank you for your patience, and thank you just for being present to understand that this is kind of how it goes sometimes. Thank you, David Klen, watching from Columbia, Tennessee. Congratulations. Thank you, sir. Tanya, what's up, girl? Says hello, everyone. We're going to be seeing Tanya with the Norse Fox Creations this weekend in North Carolina at the Viking Experience, along with her better half or other half, Josh West. They both run the Norse Fox Creation, so going to be great to see both of you again. Yes, deep and beautiful words from Patrick there, Tanya. Thank you for saying so. All right, so then I guess all we have left to do is to give the red carpet over to Mr. Eric Shervin, the Word Weaver. Eric, over to you.
Thanks, Jesse. Yeah, my name's Eric, Word Weaver Shervin. I've been heathen since, 2006, 2007, something like that. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. Gothi of the Ridgari, which is the Ridgar tribe here in the East Texas area. We founded back in 2010, I believe. 2009, 2010. I'd have to look at the shirt in there. We founded it Lightning Across the Plains back in the day. So I'd have to look at my first shirt and see what the date was, but I think it was 2010. And started up the YouTube channel around the same time as Jesse. Uh, I had started out doing both a storytelling thing and kind of a heathen 101 kind of deal. And
Yep.
his journey, his intro into heathenry and his pathway while I was, the old seasoned heathen who'd already been doing it for a hot minute, helping the newbies out. So he and I kind of tag team back and forth there for a while. Now my YouTube channel has been down for a little bit here. I had some life stuff that kind of got in the way, and I haven't quite got the spoons to get it back going again, but I do have plans to revive here in the near future. Some of y'all know I've got a book out there, the saga of Bjorn Thorolfsson. If you're interested in it, go on Amazon, search my name. It's super easy, and it's not a long book, but it's a storytelling book that's designed around heathen campfire type tales. Each one is its own unique thing, and it kind of keeps alive the tradition of passing along worldview and tradition through storytelling. Storytelling's a big thing for me. That's narrative is my drug. I am addicted to it. I live off of it, and I'm not happy unless I'm creating it. So between D&D or writing books or whatever, I've always got something going on. So, but yeah, still here, still doing. Ridgar is strong and alive and doing well. The East Texas Heathens is a meetup group that I host here in the East Texas area. Again, the same life stuff that kicked the YouTube channel kind of slowed down the meetups there, but we're about to kick those back off. So anybody who's kind of in the East Texas area may want to check it out on the Facebook and see the link there. So, yep, that's
Yep.
me.
Awesome, man. I'm so happy that you have weathered the storm, and just if you want to maybe give some sort of insight to what Hridgar means and why I say you have weathered the storm and what
Sure,
that might be.
absolutely. The name Ridgar was originally the first two families that started Ridgar was my family and my buddy Mike's, and he was very heavily Anglo-Saxon, and I am very heavily Norse Icelandic in our aesthetic. And so when we first formed the tribe, because we were blending these uh, two kind of approaches to heathenry together, uh, we used the name itself as an amalgamation of the two languages, Anglo-Saxon and Old Norse, because Rith is Old Norse for storm, and Gar is the Anglo-Saxon term for spear. So we are the Storm Spear tribe, or the children of the storm, which lived through when the tornado came through and took the house with me in it. Um, that's a long story. Anybody that wants that's on my YouTube channel too.
Yeah.
The Storm Riders.
Yeah, you didn't know that when you gave the tribe that name, that they would be we're like, all right, what the gods would be like, all right, we'll see about that. Not a little bit of a
And one of the crazy things is, I'll give the short version. We're out there watching the tornado come in, and it's forming up on the back quarter of my property. And turn around, freak out, run inside. We had put up an offering to Thor on the altar, ran in, hunkered down, felt the storm. We didn't feel the storm pick us up. We felt it drop us, kind of like how the elevator goes down, and slammed the house down. I had to kick the doors open because we were off the bricks and everything. It turned out like one or two tie downs was the only thing that kept us from landing in the field next door. But there on the altar, the offering to Thor, big old beer in one of my steins, should have been all over the place, spilled and knocked over. Not a drop.
no
Not a
way.
drop.
That's
It was
crazy.
perfect. Yep. Yeah, the Thunderer was looking out for us that day for sure.
Wow. That's incredible, man. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, thank you again for being here. And it's like, again, that 7 years of us knowing each other. Cause I'll say, like I came across your content, around the time of starting my channel. And therefore, I feel like that's when our acquaintanceship or whatever started, which then grew into a friendship. Like we have each other's phone numbers. We have yet to meet in person. It's like every time something comes around where we
It'll
want to
happen.
plan something, it's something else comes up. But we don't force things, right? Like it'll happen when it's meant to happen. And in the meantime, we've got this.
Yep, we got it. It's all good.
Yeah, you know. So Tanya says very excited to see everybody next weekend. So are we. Um, and we got Kevin here. Says good evening, everyone from the Valgarsetta lands. These are great folk up in the Illinois. I've had Kevin and I've had Chris Miller on the show. They're doing really great work up in the Great Plains area. So good to see you here, Kevin. Um, and who else we got here? We've got Posse Husband K Matt K Cat. Sorry, K Cat.
That's an inside joke. That Hi Kay. How you doing, sweetie?
Okay, all right. So we got some Eric's people here then. Very good. All righty. Well, thank you everybody for your warm intros and giving us a little bit of insight into your respective lives. And I don't know. I think now that we've gotten this part knocked out, we're about 30 minutes into the stream. There was there was something I think I shared with everybody here a bit offline over the past week or so. Um, just something that we could maybe jump off of in terms of conversation. This was a comment. Michael Thacker. He was watching on YouTube here earlier. He's probably still here, hopefully. But he's also one of my Patreon supporters, and he always comes up with these really good um, suggested topics. So for those of you that watch this live stream wherever you do, one of the best ways to get some suggested content in for the podcast is to when you join my Patreon community. Again, if you, it's a $1 pledge, so it's nothing outrageous or silly in terms of money, but it's just a nice little way to help fund the production costs and stuff. You get a chance to get that first voice um, in for podcast recommendations or topic suggestions. And one of Michael's recent suggestions was to. I've been talking recently. I've had an episode or two really getting into the concept of luck from a heathen perspective. What does luck mean, and the concept of luck and how it's all of these metaphysical um, concepts and things that really embrace a heathen worldview. So you get into topics, you get into subjects of things like Orle and weird and the Nornir or the Shapers if you're continental Saxon Germanic heathen type person. The different names for the same things. So Michael's question, kind of as a follow up, I think to that was about how do we see the flow of luck happening in a tribal dynamic, meaning like how members of a tribe can affect the luck built up by the tribe and how luck is distributed throughout the tribe. Now, this is a thing that if you're new to heathenry, um, I've done some podcast episodes. It's a very deep subject. It's a deep well to fall into, as it were. The concept of luck, because it goes into so much more. It goes into the soul complex. It goes into very uh, heathen specific concepts. But I think it's an interesting thing to really bring up this idea of the flow of luck within a tribal dynamic and how that happens, how it's distributed, how it's shared, what individual members can do that can impact or affect the overall group's luck. Um, so we've got 5 people here, myself included. We got 4 other people beside myself here that have, in various ways, embraced heathenry into their life. Um, who wants to go first? Who wants to go first with this thought of how luck is distributed or affected within a tribal dynamic? Does anybody have a voice they'd like to jump in and just raise your hand?
I,
Eric, raise your hand.
I'm holding off. I'm gonna
You
ramble.
know, Eric, I was gonna say,
Yes.
yeah, Eric
Let
is
that
gonna,
dude get it out of the way, because he's gonna be so poetic about it, and
Let
then
me
we
the
can
rest of
he's
the
fill in
show
here
if
and
I
there.
get going. Well, let
he's
somebody else
confident.
talk first.
First time here. Say, let's see, Seti the Red. First time here. Loki brought me to heathenry recently. All right, Seti the Red. Well, thank you for being here for watching this 7-year anniversary live stream. We're going to get into some heathenry stuff. So enjoy, and I hope you find this educational. So Eric, let's start with you, sir, since we know that this is kind of something that
Okay.
in your wheelhouse.
You're welcome, Eric.
If this goes through and if it catches up to itself. Can y'all
Yeah,
hear me okay?
yeah, we can hear you. The framing is frozen, but we can still hear you.
Yeah, I'm discovering that I am a little far away from my router, but that's okay. So, when it comes to luck, luck is one of the probably most difficult uh, topics to discuss in heathenry just because it is so abstract and it deviates so heavily from what the generalized Western culture view of heathenry of luck is. I like to differentiate the two with the lowercase l and the uppercase l because with us, I always use the uppercase because I'm thinking of luck as far as that element goes. Luck so many factors, so many different areas to come at it with. From a tribal perspective, the chieftain, go the leadership level, is the seat of luck within the tribe. That is the repository wherein the luck settles within the tribe. The old idea of the hater of gold, who would give gifts to his tribe, who sends blessings with his people, that's him bestowing elements of the tribal luck upon his people. Now, in the olden days, a lot of times luck was associated with the wealth, the material gains that had been grown by the tribe. Therefore, like the king or the leader element would be that keeper of that, and he would be able to give freely to the people. It's a reciprocity thing. The chieftain would dole out luck to the tribe, and the deeds and actions of the tribe would feed back into the luck of the tribe as a repository. This is separate from individual family luck or what we would see as like there's family luck, individual luck, which that's a whole different paradigm that deals with tying into the filia, the family unit, and how that flow goes. The filia serving as kind of a through gate for the luck from the ancestors and the Norns into the individual. With tribal luck, there's a number of terms that we use. Gefrain is one of them that's commonly accepted. It does come from the uh, Anglo-Saxon side of terminology, but it's basically the reputation, the worth of your name in society. And it's kind of a measure of one's deeds, one's value, what they bring to the table. The more good things that we do, the stronger our Gefrain, the stronger our luck. Similarly, luck is fueled by Frith, and Frith and Gefrain go hand in hand. Frith is kind of within the tribe. Gefrain is what we have with the Utnger. The luck that we build as a tribe is mostly fueled from within, as that frith we do with each other, we support each other, we take care of each other, and that's manifested through the tribe's ability to persevere. Good things just kind of happen to you, or at least you're better able to weather the rough stuff. One of the elements that, we were talking about the tornado that took my house back in the beginning of the show. And one of the ways that my luck manifested itself at that time was that I was able to put a holler out, and before you knew it, I had a dozen men and women who were here at the house ready to help us pack things out. And these weren't like all one friend group. It was from all of the different interactions that I'd had, and it definitely came through for me when I needed it in a pinch. So, as far as the flow goes, the deeds and actions of the individual members of the tribe all feed in as they act in the name of the tribe. The tribe functions kind of similarly to the family unit in that instance, because, within the family unit, the smallest divisible social structure within heathenry was the sib. And anyone within the household that did anything did so in the name of the sib, in the name of the family, and the name of the roof tree or hearth, depending on your terminology. And they would, the better they did, the more good deeds they did, the better a name they made for the family, the stronger that family's luck grew over time. It can, of course, be squandered. It can be damaged by ill deeds or by not showing value and reverence to that name. Same kind of thing happens with the tribe. You've got the individual members that either go out and do really good things in the name of the tribe and bring good, strong luck to the tribe, which then rests in that repository that is the chieftain. Or they do bad things, and that's a drain on tribal luck. A lot of times when you see members or families that are cut away from a tribe is because of that they're being a constant drain on the luck, pouring poison into the well, as it were. And for the audience, I'm a tribal heathen, so I use the term tribe. I realize that a lot of will use kindred, will use any number of names for their groups. Tribe is what I do, so that's the paradigm that I'm working from there. So yeah, it's a reciprocity thing. The members of the tribe bring luck in, feed it. The chieftain also feeds the wellspring of luck that is at the center of the tribe. Think of him sitting at kind of a bubbling brook, a well, where everybody's putting things into it. Everybody's pouring water into this well. And then when it comes time that the tribe needs it, the chieftain doles it out. The Gothi does the same thing with luck, but from a standpoint of ritual element, because it is the exchange of luck energies with the gods, goddesses, that is the religious side of things. So that wellspring gets fed from the divine, it gets fed from the cultural side of things, it gets fed from within the tribe itself. There's multiple different facets where it all comes in. And an individual that is like super drainy because they themselves have a negative luck that they're trying to make up for, and it's just kind of siphoning off of everybody around them, becomes a drain on the luck for the tribe. But people that come in who are just really industrious and really work hard, really do good things, bring strong luck to the tribe, and that pours a lot into that well. So yeah, sorry, that was a ramble. We good?
That's what it's about.
I expected nothing less.
I'm passing the torch. Somebody else talk.
I actually have a question about this topic. So I'm new to this couple years, and I'm still learning, and I'm literally learning on this podcast. But when you originally posed the question, I started looking it up because I was a little confused about the idea of luck in heathenry. If there are Nornir and Skuld who, if everything's already fated, how can luck even have a play into the idea? And I see you talk to me, servant.
Tap the button once. Okay. Things are not fated. The only thing that's fated is that we will live and we will die. The Nornir are the riders of our deeds. They yes, they spin the length of our lives. They set the amount of lifespan that we have, but everything that we have between birth and death is ours to deal with. The gods gave us free will. They gave us divine madness, that is the gift from Odin that we use to craft, create, exist, and just burn into this world with our existences. And the idea of predestination is not a heathen thing. Everything's malleable, everything shifts, everything gives. The only real instance that we run into with predestination is in the story of Ragnarok. Ragnarok itself is a questionable thing to add into the lore because one of the earliest instances that we actually have of the poem, the Voluspa, was written by an individual who all indications are now is actually like the son of a Gitya in Iceland, or a law speaker, or someone of that level of thing that would have just bathed this kid in the mythology from coming up. But it dates back, as best we can tell, to around the time of conversion in Iceland. So the story itself is him literally watching the battle of the breakdown, where they were debating about going Christian as Iceland, and doing away with the old gods, and that's what he's literally seeing. The poem is pulling forward all of that imagery, pulling forward the spirit of the gods and the story and everything. But then the end, that where we get into Ragnarok, where we get into the twilight of the gods, the fading off, and then the death and rebirth under this one bright god in the end, is that conversion to Christianity. So Ragnarok itself, there are elements that we can trace back to Proto-Indo-European times, but it gets muddy. Ragnarok itself as a thing pretty much only exists therein, and becomes questionable as to whether or not it's even really part of the mythos, or if it was just the poetic ramblings of somebody who really knew their stuff.
Right.
And so with that, that is one of the only times that we really have predestination. When you look at the word weird, I wish I could remember the name of the book. There's an excellent book that looks into this. I will have to see if I can dig it up again. But when you look at the term weird as it appears in old text, it is most frequently tied with the term for death, because that is really the only fated thing that's going to happen. We're born, stuff happens, and we die. The stuff happens is all ours. The gods are gods of order. They created the worlds out of the chaos of the Jotun, and the Jotun are constantly trying to return it to chaos, while Nidhogg is constantly gnawing and is trying to pull things into entropy. He's an act of entropy. Yeah, I saw that pop up. Ragnarok can be viewed as cyclic. There's a term in one of the translations of the Voluspa where it seems like this is the 10th world tree, but that's a bit of a stretch on translation.
I was gonna just jump in and say, like, with regards to Eric's point of the Ragnarok concept and this and that, like, yes, it does appear to be something that was introduced very late in Scandinavia specifically. There's, I don't think, an equivalent of Ragnarok in continental Germanic myths. I don't think the Saxons had anything like this. I don't think the tribes of continental Germany, of whether it was the Saxons or any of the other earlier tribes, had anything quite like this. So it became something very specific to the far north when those customs migrated, and when you had like the Danes and the Swedes and everybody starting to spread and into Norway, and then when Norway when the people of Norway left and settled Iceland, all this came in very very much later on.
I know in the Ur-Dweller sagas that it talks about a Gothi who is very prevalent in that area, and the way he did things, it brought him luck until in the end when he started making poor choices, and I think a crop had failed one year, and so they removed him as Gothi and replaced him with someone else, even though he had his wishes for everything in the end. But the way his luck ended in the Ur-Dweller sagas, he tried his luck too much and didn't really live by his deeds, and it changed the structure of the storyline for the Ur-Dweller sagas. And there's another example, like, you think with Odin, or Wodenaz, whatever you want to call him as, or Odin, and, you think Odin did all these things, and, he tried his luck, even though the seer had told him his fate, the Volva, and told him different things that would happen, but still he tried and tried his luck for wisdom and knowledge and for all these different things that he set out to do. And it shaped, the Asir and the Vanir and the way everything happened in the end, even though, to me, fate is like a string. There's a beginning and an end to it, but what you do in the middle of those threads will cause it to fray, snap, or it'll cause those threads to bind together better to make something strong and malleable. But, also in the same time, if you read piece of horse liver, and you're talking about uh, Hockton the Good or Hecton the Good, however you want to call him.
Oh
You
heck,
know,
man.
in his story of Piece of the Horse Liver, written by, I can't remember, it's John something. I can't say his last name because he's from Iceland. He also talked about the story of the things that he did because he converted to Christianity even though he was a heathen in the beginning, as well as his spouse. And so in the end of his life, he had worried about his luck, about how he lived by his deeds, and he was worried that he wouldn't go to heaven because he was a heathen beforehand, before converting to Christianity. So he told his men to hand him a sword because he had worried that he didn't know where he was going. Was he going to a void, or was he going to heaven or hell, or was he going to Valhalla, or was he going to, be with his ancestors in, another realm, so to speak, and Helheim or Niflheim or whatever you want to call it. Everybody calls it something different. But to the underworld or whatnot. But for him, he was worried. But the gods looked upon him because his brothers were already there, and they decided to let him go to Valhalla to be with the slain, and the Valkyrie took him away. And so that shows the dynamics of it and everything. And there's also one other saga from the Icelandic saga that talks about how the Gothi and how he raised his son. And so when his father passed on, he took on the luck of his father, and he
Right.
became the Gothi after that. So luck and the way fate is, yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand, but also at the same time, like, yeah, in a tribe, so to speak, yeah, the Gothi or the Githia or chieftain or chiefess, whatever lingo you want to use, yeah, depending on the structure of how that person sets it up, as well as the tribe as a whole, because to me, it doesn't matter if it's a tribe, a marriage, or friendship. It's like a box. You have to put into that box to pull out of it, and that goes the same with luck and investing in things and doing different stuff. And if you're just sitting there constantly pulling out, like Eric said, that well, you're sitting there pulling out of it all the time, you're going to dry it out. You're not going to have anything left over because you've already pushed your luck, and you haven't really given and put into that, building and weaving frith, and building strong bonds to help your luck. You think about us, all of us right now sitting here on this podcast, we built friendships together, and luck have it, we're all on this podcast together on celebrating Jesse's 7 years of Midgard's musing. So it just shows the dynamics of everything when it comes to luck and tribal and life in general, and just people in general.
Can I jump back in here real quick? One, well said, Emily. Amelia, that was fantastic. Um, Back to the Norns thing real quick, just before we ramble on to a different part. One of the big misconceptions, and this is something that needs to be cleared up for viewers and everything up front, the Norns are not the Fates. The Fates are a Greek concept. The spinners of fate, that's not a heathen thing. They do not correlate. Yeah, it's 3 and 3 and everything. It sounds great, but they are not correlate. It doesn't work out that way. Uh, Urd is the keeper of that which has become. Skuld is the keeper of those things that are becoming, those things that could be, should be. It's ephemeral. Her world doesn't exist. It's mist. It's shadow. It is potentiality. And then Vertandis is weird. It is the here and now. It is the progression of potentiality into actuality. So the Norns themselves actually represent what I like to call heathen causality. It's the vector of we are fed by what was or what has become through the choices that we make now, vectoring into the unknown, that which could be. And again, I can ramble about the Norns forever, but that's because I don't correlate them like a lot of people do. I actually see them as an extension of the mothers, and that each family line has their own Norns, and
Yeah.
that Urth, Vertandi, and Skuld are actually titles,
Yeah.
roles that they play. Go on,
Yeah.
Jesse.
This kind of bleeds into what I personally believe is that luck is strongly, if not entirely, carried within family dynamics, right? Familial lines. You speak of things like Haminye, and whatnot. Like that is your luck. Like you have your own Haminga, and then the family has its own luck, which is a collection of the various parts of that unit, right? So you talk about like this weaving of threads, and the Nornir or the shapers is this the way, like, if you get into like continental Germanic, specifically Saxon heathenry, it's they call them the shapers. They don't use the term Nornir. That's a very Scandinavian term, but it means essentially like the same thing. They are the shapers. They have woven a thread, and it's your thread or their threads. Like the family's thread has its own thing, and then what the family members do in between is going to shape the rest of it. The arrival and the destination are set. You got here at one point. You're going to end here at that point. What happens in between is what we weave and what we do. Um, so because of heathenry being such a tribally focused, thing, it thrives, and I think it exists brightly and best in a tribal setting where you have clans or families coming together and practicing, believing, venerating, worshiping, whatever, in a agreed upon way. It is that custom, it is that thu, it is that way of doing things that is specific to that family construct or the extensions of that family's beliefs. So it's very heavily, I believe, maintained or controlled, if you want to say, through familial dealings. And as we know, like not all, when I say family, I don't mean just your blood, your kin, like as you were, DNA wise. I mean family, even for the Germanic peoples, was as much fostering. What's the adoption? Right, there was a lot of that going on in that culture too. So family meant more than just your blood relatives. Um, and it was how those threads of those individual threads got interwoven into the family unit, the family dynamic, that became the luck or the shared luck or fortune, if you want to maybe even call it that. I don't think you can quite translate the terms luck and fortune into the same thing, but it's not by happenstance, right? When we say luck from a heathen perspective, it's not I got lucky by a chance happening or something. It was through active things. It was through work. It was through deeds. So this happened because somebody did this or didn't do this.
Strong luck leads to good fortune.
Strong luck, yes, exactly, and that's how I translate it too. Is it's luck is not inherently good or bad. It is what it is. And I spoke to somebody else, and they're like, I don't really get the term luck so much as I use the terms, or they related more to the terms orle and main.
Mm-hmm.
So that the orle, the primal layer, that which was laid down first, and then the main, the might, the spiritual strength. So you say strong luck, that correlates, and that meets well to that concept, right?
Yep.
Would you say a simple word for it would just be your reputation?
That's closer to Gefrain than it is to luck. Gefrain can feed luck. It can help to reinforce it. It can pour good things into the well. But luck itself is that store of spiritual energy that you draw upon when you need it. It is that which brings good things to the family, that brings good things to the tribe and perpetuates it. And it is through strong luck that we persevere. It manifests itself through things such as our reputation. And that is, again, everything is reciprocal. So, strong luck brings good Gefrain. Good Gefrain brings good luck. It all kind of feeds back and forth. When you have strong luck, you're in a position where you can do things to, I like that, Kevin. The micros feed the macros, the Sib Hearth feeds the clans feed the tribes feed the community. Without enough of one, the rest will eventually fail in the region. Exactly. There's a reciprocal responsibility between leadership, be it in family or in the tribal setting, to the the others, those under their charges, if you will. But they also have a responsibility back to the leadership to do good things, to try hard, to persevere for the tribe. And then the leadership's job is to look out for them, help to organize them, and do the best they can. Everybody's working towards the same goal, but there's a feed back and forth. And this is the flow of luck, just like we send luck to the gods whenever we give offering. Uh, the followers give luck to the tribe by feeding into it, doing things, bringing their energies to the tribe. Luck is just another form of energy. It's just that manifestation thereof. It's that well of it. You're going to see me come back to well as imagery a whole lot. Well, Norns, all of that all ties together. Because the role of the Norns is to bring our stories, our deeds, our actions into the well, and then use the clay from the well to feed Yggdrasil. It is that's that pathway for our offerings of luck to the gods. We give into the well, and the well feeds the tree, and the tree takes it to Asgard, and the cycle continues.
Mm.
So yeah, that's
I
where
was
our
so
cyclic nature
waiting
comes
for
in.
you to get to that tree aspect. I was waiting for you to get to the tree. I
Amelia
knew it
knows
was coming up.
I always do
I
the
was
tree
like,
thing.
I was waiting for that tree because if you
Either
start talking about that tree, you'll be on it for about 20, 30 minutes. I was waiting for it
I could
because
go the tree thing
I love that
forever.
view about it because I've always been, even with like, order and chaos. Like sometimes order brings chaos and sometimes chaos brings order and it goes hand in hand. And also at the same time, it takes a village to build something great, to do something as a community. Because, I tell people all the time when it comes to River Pine, I am not River Pine. Yes, I'm the founder. Yes, I know I'm on the paperwork, but it's not me that makes River Pine. It's all of us in this community that makes River Pine what it is. The people who want to help, because people are always talking about, oh, well, how are we going to raise money? How are we going to do this? And I'm like, listen, everybody has a role, and we're going to build something great together to build that well for River Pond, to give to the community, and everybody helps in their own way, even if it's just setting up a table or setting the food out or setting up the altar or the activities for the kids or checking the post on Facebook while I'm sitting there talking to new people, or getting stuff out of my car. Everybody has a role. Like, I'm not the most important person in River Pond. We are the most important people in River Pond as a whole. And people forget that because they think, oh, the Gothi and the Githia. Yes, I am important because I did schedule the event.
Mm.
River Pond did put it together. But at the same time, people forget that we all play a hand in how our events will go, on the luck of it, how it will go. And I think a lot of people forget that
Yeah.
it takes a
Yeah.
village to build something great.
I always tell my people if they ever get tired of me, they can just throw me in the well like the old kings. It's like not everything is around me, but
Bog
back
him,
to
bog him, I say.
yeah, bug him, I say, into the bug. One of the things that we come back to is again that leadership role and the flow of luck within the tribe. The leader is the seat of luck within the tribe. That is that central point, and they serve as a guiding factor. But without the rest of the tribe, there's nothing to guide.
Yeah.
Nothing happens. You can stand there
You're
and
talking to
scream orders
yourself.
from the hill, and nothing's going to happen.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
the the leader leads by consent of the rest of the tribe. They're just chosen. It's like my people could replace me at any time.
Yeah, Mark Stinson did a really great job years ago with a collection of essays, which I believe are still available on Temple of Our Heathen Gods. Um, I think that's the
Yeah, I
website.
think the URL is heathengods.com. It is called Temple of Our Heathen Gods on
Yeah,
this on the banner, but it's just
yeah,
heathengods.com.
yeah. A wonderful collection of essays with the role of the modern chieftain, the role of the modern Gothi, the role of the modern Thule, and all the various different things that kind of encompass heathenry in a modern day context within North America. Because Mark was very pivotal, if not foundational, with like lightning across the plains. Eric, I think you know Mark probably personally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've known Mark for a long time. Now there
yeah,
was some drama around Mark and the Jotunsbane Kindred there towards the end of Lightning Across the Plains, so there may be some cringe reactions from some of the people in the audience if they knew him. But I knew him. He was a good guy when I knew him and interacted with him. I had nothing bad to say about Mark from then. And he did. He had Heathen Gods. There was Heathen Tribes. Was the second book
yeah.
that he wrote.
It's a collection of essays.
Yeah.
I printed off. It's however many hundreds of pages of collections of essays, but it very well put together, very well researched, and it fits, I think, well in terms of anybody interested in really trying to approach heathenry from a tribal construct.
Right. It does have some jumping off points. It's
Yeah,
very good. I leery to lean too heavily into advocating one particular book over another. Uh, just
right.
simply because there's so many different ways to go at it. And the
Oh yeah.
thing about that, it is very representative of Midwest heathenry. I've noticed there are some strong differences between coastal areas, north, south, and then, of course, generalized Midwest and kind of
Mm.
approaches to heathenry and structuring that I think have a lot to do with cultural heritages that are perpetuated in those spots.
That brings up a really good point too, Eric.
Boss, I know.
Heathenry is it's so, hey Bradley boss, I'm glad you can make it. um Trip ran longer than I thought. Well, glad that you could hop in and catch what we're doing here. um but real quickly, you bring up that I think an important point with regards to you know reading some of that stuff that Mark put out. Like, yes, it's a collection of essays. It's maybe not necessarily one book. It's contributed by various different people, but from a very centralized or specific region of the land. um I've spoken many times before about how heathenry in North America has to, and even we see this in Europe too. I mean, the heathenry of continental mainland Germanic places was what it was, and then as it migrated and as it moved, it some of it came with the people, and it changed and it adjusted based upon the geographical landscape. And I use the concept of, like, okay, well, just because you're heathen in North America, that doesn't mean that heathens in South Florida are going to do things the same as heathens in Oregon, who aren't going to do the same things as heathens in Texas or Arkansas or New York or Tennessee.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna the spirit of the land is going to quite often inform how, or at least I believe it should, inform how uh, your heathenry is being executed or practiced, right? So you can't just lump it all into one giant category, and it's not a one size fits all sort of a thing, right? So,
Yes,
um,
regionalization is a huge thing. I mean, just look at the fact that one of the pillars of heathenry. Okay, whoever's doing the bingo game, get ready to click off another box. There's four pillars to heathenry. There's the religious, there is the spiritual, there's the cultural, and there's the philosophical. The religious is our interaction with the divine, our interaction specifically with the gods and goddesses. The spiritual is our interaction with the Vetir, our ancestors, the unseen, that's still part of the profane world. The gods, the sacred, that's all in the religious side, our interaction with the sacred. Our interaction with the unseen profane is the spiritual side. Our interaction with each other is the cultural side. And our understanding of how the world works, that's the philosophical side. That's luck, that's orlog, that's things like that.
mhm,
So, regionalization, one, the cultural element, the people that we interact with, us, we are informed by the places that we come from. That feeds into our orlog. Similarly, the Vatir that we interact with
right,
are very different. The Vatir that I deal with down here in Texas are going to be different than what they deal with in California or Minnesota, or especially Norway and Iceland. Very, very different.
right,
So regionalization, big thing.
yeah,
Mhm.
and
There's
that's where,
also books in Scandinavia. There is certain books over there that has not been translated into English that we don't have access to unless you could speak, the language over there in Scandinavia, because there's books that they have that still hasn't been published over here in America.
Sure. Well, and I always go back to it. It's like, where we are heathens in North America. Everybody here in this audience right now, at least on the panel, not excluding listeners and viewers. I'm sure I've got people from many different places, whether they're watching live now or catch this later. That's where you run into the whole challenge or the difficulty of generalizing heathenry into this sort of universal approach. Well, you can't, because again, the spirit of the land is going to be different. You don't, Vatir is a term that is very unique to Scandinavia. Whites is the term of the Old English and Germanic speaking countries of continental lands. And then you come over here and it's, does that translate to the spoken or to the acknowledged language of the spirits of the land which reside here in North America?
Right.
It's the regionalization, the familiarity, and getting to know and communicate well with that. It was as much a part of our ancient ancestors' lifestyle as the gods were, if not even more. They were very in tune with the land. And it was such a big part of their daily practices, probably even more so than the gods on a larger scale, arguably,
This all feeds into. Can I check off another box on the bingo thing?
Please. I'm checking my boxes off over here. I've almost got bingo. No.
There you go. This one might get it for you. There's no such thing as greater heathenry.
There it is.
There is
Bingo.
no such thing as greater heathenry. Heathenry exists at a tribal level. It's grassroots up, not top down. There is no overarching heathenry. That no two tribes do things the same way. No two regions ever did things the same way. Heathens in the old world didn't even worship the same gods half the time. They had different names for them. They had different takes on them. While we can correlate Thor and Thunor and Donner, they're not exactly the same. People saw things a little bit differently, enough that a heathen from southern Germany may not be even able to talk to a Norse heathen if they had the same language, because things just were so different by region. But that's tribal heathenry. There's nothing wrong with that. So when people talk about culture and belief structure, you got to understand we're not trying to fit into like the big book religions where it's like this is the picture of the religion that is set out of the book. We have this picture. Look like this. Do this thing. Follow this doctrine.
Yeah,
No.
but that
Heathenry
also
is...
leads to another topic, though, Eric. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, though.
What you got?
But that also leads to another topic, and a lot of people have thought it interesting when I mention it. So when you hear about Arminius or Herman, and they talk about the Germanic tribes and everything, and how they were all doing different things from what was wrote in that time period, from what Tacitus wrote, and from what other people wrote about, when it came to the Teutoburg, or in the Black Forest and everything, the battle out there with the Roman legion. And when Herman brought all of them together, each and every one of them was doing something different, and they didn't really like one another, but they knew they had to band together, to defeat the Roman legion. But still, even in the end, they broke apart because they didn't want, centralized power with one person. Each tribe wanted to have their own individual thing that led to their downfall in the end, because they couldn't come together to build something great, even though they were building something great individually. Because one of the things that I've noticed over the years, and I'm not trying to be negative or nothing, but each kindred is doing their own thing, or tribe, and I've always noticed that somebody always has a remark to say about someone else. They don't like what they're doing, or they don't like their background. And to us, like,
Jeez.
the way
Check off another box. Not my hall, not my call.
Dude.
Exactly. But at the same
Check another
time,
box.
but for me, it's like, I always hope that everybody can come together, even though our differences. Yes, there are hard lines that are no thank you. I won't hang out with them because of this, that, or the other.
Judgment's your
But to me,
responsibility.
at the same time, it's like we're almost reflecting back to the time of the Germanic tribes, if we don't come together in some form or fashion, we can't build something great. Like, yeah, like this podcast we're having right now, celebrating Jesse's 7 year, we have a safe space here where we may not have that in other places that we go to from unfamiliar tribes or kindreds or, how their view and belief structure is and stuff like that. But, time and time again, I see that, yeah, luck plays a big role on how we weave frith, but also at the same time, like, if we can't find a happy medium amongst the tribes and kindreds and stuff like that, how do we really keep weaving frith to build something greater than
Mm,
ourselves?
I mean,
Because
technically speaking, we're not weaving frith with the other tribes. We're
yeah,
weaving grain for the most
it's
part.
individually in different
Yeah.
ways.
Now,
Yeah.
what you're talking about is thing.
Yeah.
The disparate tribes coming together in a common forum to talk it out, because the different regions of Iceland didn't all do things the same way. So they all came together at Thingvellir, and had it out. They had an agreed upon set of laws that the law speaker would set out and be like, all right, I'm going to arbitrate. They weren't a ruler of any kind. They were just an arbiter in the different
Kind of a
abilities from the
moderator.
different sections. Yeah.
Yeah.
They would sit here and go, all right, have it out. You're not allowed to bring weapons because y'all going to get stabby. So
Yeah.
sit and talk it. What you got?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good point. Like in the Saxons had too, right? They had Thing at Marklow every year. There's some really great articles out there if you guys want to know about Thing and how the Germanic tribes, it moved up to the Scandinavian Norse regions. Iceland still to this day, their parliament is called the Althing. And so I'm gonna not try to. I'm gonna
Yes,
do
let's
it
get
arbitrate.
back
I'm
on
gonna
track.
moderate a little bit here. Michael Thacker a little while ago had brought up a comment on family luck. He says, "Can one who has affected the luck bad enough to be expelled from a hearth still put a drain on the clan/hearth?" Like as, for example, a child or parent being disowned? That's a really good question.
Utlager.
Yeah.
Outlaw. Outlawry casts them out of the oath web. It casts them out of the luck web. When they are made outlaw, they are cut off from it. Because that thing about an outlawry is it has to be made public. It
Yeah.
has to be,
It has to
hey,
happen that thing.
this is not one of us anymore. This person has been disavowed, they have been disowned, so they are then cut off from that luck. It happens both at a tribal level and it can happen at a family level. The problem is that there is an element of Orlog that cannot be completely cut, completely tethered. Everybody can know that so and so was disowned from the family and is therefore, outlawed. But outlawry itself was a cultural thing at a tribal level. So yeah, there can still be some feedback. There can still be some loop back, and it's
already
different
been poured
now
into
than it
the
used to
well.
be.
It was already there. Like you can't take out what's been poured in.
Right, and it's honestly kind of a different. You can drain the luck, but more likely, the better metaphor is that the deeds and actions we put into the well affect the quality of the water that we can pull from the well. The well never fully depletes, but we can muddy it, we can dirty it, we can pollute it so much that the only thing you can pull out of it is poison. And if a person keeps pouring poison in, then the water turns and it becomes unusable. We, as the other members feeding into the well, try to feed good clean water back in to dilute that damage. And so, yeah, a person can continue to pour poison in the well, but there are some mitigating things that can be done, and we can pour better energy back in there. And I don't want to gloss over that white comment, if we can come back to that, because I do have a whole thing on that.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely come back to that. And I didn't want to. I was mainly putting it up there so I could see what Kevin had to say, because I admire Kevin's feedback. I have had him on the podcast. Veger Sleta, him and Chris Miller are doing good things up there in Illinois. So, how are you doing, Blake and Matt? I know we've been kind of rambling on, and it's also 15, almost 20 minutes past the hour. Are you guys and gals okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're okay. I'm just trying to keep up and everything. They're kind of saying pretty much what Eric is saying pretty much what I'm thinking altogether, especially with the whole family luck thing is you can yeah, it can be diluted, but um you can also be given what you can actually work with what you've been given as well.
Work with what we've been given, right? The
Mhm.
luck that we've inherited.
Yeah,
That's a valid observation. I don't know if we've really covered that aspect of it, but yeah, there's definitely things that have come down to us through Orlay, right?
yeah,
Or that have been added to that primal layer that we end
yeah,
up with. You can't change that,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. And again,
So
as Eric said, if you have to drink the diluted the polluted water, then you probably have to live with dysentery for a while. But then eventually, you put back good water back into it,
Mhm.
cleaner water. It dilutes it.
Yep.
yeah, the sediment settles, right? The muck,
Yeah,
you know. But that's the part of like that's the whole thing, right? The well is constantly being disturbed through
yeah,
seeds, right? Things are constantly being added
yeah,
to it. So the more good you add to it, the less that muck has to control or to govern or to influence. So
yeah.
it's heavier stuff that gets added to the
Hmm.
bottom, and it's a memory. It's a whisper of a thing. Like, oh wow, yeah,
Yeah,
that happened.
yeah. But
Um,
we're all shaped by the deeds of those who have come before us as well.
um, well, I'll tell you what. Here's what I'd like to do because we do have a lot of comments. I see Kevin's comments, Bradley, Set the Red, and then even Wild Heathen Wolfpack, which is based up in Alaska. We've got some comments that are kind of sitting in the queue that I'd really like to get into. Um, but one of the things that I was wanting to do, we have Matt Sarah here, and I mentioned early on in the show that Matthew worked on a project and worked on something with regards to his musical talent that I kind of sort of helped him a little bit with just visually, artistically, as it were. What do you all say about we take about a 3.5 minute, yeah, about a 3.5 minute stretch your legs, stand up, use the restroom, get your drink, whatever it is, kind of intermission. And during that time, showcase this piece of work that Matthew has produced musically and visually. Um, what do you guys say to that?
Bring it on.
Sounds great.
All right.
Very good.
So what we're going to do, folks, so that you're listening or watching this live stream here, Matthew Sarah worked on something that we're going to showcase to you now. It is called Matthew. You want to just talk a little bit about this before I roll the red carpet out, or put this out here for people? What is this that we're about to listen and watch?
Um, so this is my not I don't know if I should say my version of the Runatal, but I for the first time I've been in my genesis of making this music. I've always had to use software instruments just because I haven't had the real instruments. And for the first time, I recently got this Kravic lyre, and I also have a bouquet horn as well. And I wanted to make a song with just that and not having to use this Asgard sampler from Danheim. And as I was writing this song, I was thinking of I never really sit down and say like I'm going to write a song today and this is what it's going to be about. I wait for that type of the I guess the music to come to me and I just put it down and then as I'm doing it and listening to it, then I think, oh, this is what I think it's going to be about. This is what I want to do. So I decided to use the Runatal for this song, 138 and 139. Um, and try to tell a little bit of a story with that, which is something that was interesting that you said a lot earlier in the podcast, Eric, is you're really about storytelling. And I actually did something before this with the Volupspa where I wanted to do it in a way where I was telling a story as opposed to just singing it. So that's something I wanted to do a little bit with this track as well. So this is my first fully organic instrument Nordic folk song.
All right. Well, I'm excited to showcase it here, Matthew. Thank you for producing this and giving all of us here and the viewers today a chance to see this if you haven't seen it yet. So this is Matthew Serra's rendition of some stanzas from the Havamal, the Runetal section of the Havamal. We're going to take a quick break and let you all kind of watch and listen to this. When we come back, we can follow up and hear your feedback about it, and then we will pick up on the comments from Kevin and Wild Heathen Wolfpack and everybody else here. So thank you all for listening and watching this stream up to this point. Don't go anywhere unless you're just going to the bathroom or something. Definitely get up, stretch your legs, get the blood flowing and all that. But here we go. This is Matthew Serra's rendition of Runetal, and you're watching the 7-year anniversary live stream of Midgard Musings. We'll see you all here shortly. All right, folks, welcome back. Wow, Matt. I mean, I'm impressed with the production. The sound was, the audio. I mean, like the audio recording of it. These are all your own instruments, right?
Yes, yes, they are.
And it's your voice. Um, Obviously, you took the time to do your best to learn the medieval reconstructed sound of what Old Norse would be. You know, reciting these stanzas. Bravo,
Oh, thank
sir.
you.
Really well done. Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I'm not trying to be biased or anything like that. What did everybody else think?
Very nice.
Thanks.
He said, "Very nice."
It's
Very
very nice. It's very very nice. No, I loved it, dude. That was fantastic.
nice.
I
Thank
love
you.
the lilt, the feel of it. Yeah, fantastic. Well done.
I think
Um,
I
I'm
think
sorry.
I think he's taking commissions too, Eric. So if you need some new like music for your channel or something.
When I get my channel going back, we may talk. Just
Oh,
saying.
I really I like to focus a lot on pronunciation, and I was watching Jackson Crawford a lot and trying to really get everything right. I think I might have I might have said nater instead of netter, um, netter alarniu, but I don't know. It's something I really do care about, and there's been songs in the past that I've made mistakes on, but I'd rather leave it up there to show that I've made a mistake and I'd own up to it and try to continue to get better, as opposed to like if I were to do something wrong, take it away to make it look like I never did anything wrong, because
Yeah.
I'm a work in progress.
Yeah.
I'm learning. I want to be you know better.
Well, I was when it comes to languages and linguistics, like especially when you're learning, um, by and large, for all intents and purposes, dead languages, right? Because who's speaking Old Norse nowadays? The Icelanders are probably speaking as close to what Old Norse was, but their pronunciations are different, right? So it's not Old Icelandic; it's modern Icelandic. I was talking to a linguist recently, asking them if, like, let's say, for example, somebody who was speaking Old Saxon in the time when Old Saxon was spoken, would the Franks understand it, or would it be foreign to them? And um, like what he had told me, he was like, imagine, somebody from Minnesota talking to somebody from Louisiana. They'd get the gist of it, and they'd know the majority of what they're saying, but it's regional inflections, it's accents and things like that. So the languages are so similar, and when I hear like a North American dude from Pennsylvania or Maryland or whatever, like I'm from New York, I live in Tennessee. I'm sure that my English sounds different to the Tennesseans because I'm from New York. I have a New York accent, just like Eric's Texan accent's going to sound a little bit different than Amelia, Amelia's, because she's somewhere else in that same area, but just slightly different. We get each other, we know each other, but there's that slight difference of accents and inflections. And I feel like when you're doing things like you're doing, Matt, the spirit of it is being captured, but you get that little like, oh yeah, that dude's not from here, but I appreciate it and I get it.
Yeah. Actually, someone with my last Volupspo vid, someone actually commented, "I can tell you're from North America, but like, good job, bro." And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, I get that's really exactly what you just said.
Like senpai noticed me.
Yeah, yeah. I just I want it. I might not be perfect, but I want to show that I am putting effort. I'm not just uh,
Well,
I shouldn't say the artist's name, but I'm not just going out there all willy nilly and not caring about
that's
stuff.
okay. I know you're talking about Peyton Parrish.
Sorry.
I'll,
Yeah.
I'll say
Shots
it.
fired.
You're not the next Disney princess rendition of a song. And like Sit the Red said, like it would be great to sleep to. Dude, if you ever came out with just uh, a whole telling of that portion of a recitation of it in that style, Yeah, put that on repeat for me, man. I'll be zonked out in 5 minutes.
Well,
Not because I'm not interested, just because it's that soothing, right?
I
thank
went to bed here was talking about pronunciations and stuff. One thing I realized too about language, it loses itself when you sing it.
you.
Sometimes,
Yeah,
like if you ever heard something like pronouncing that when they use like French or anything, if they speak it versus when they sing it, it's completely different.
it is different. You're right.
The pronunciation kind of loses itself a little bit. So that's something to take account of when you sing it. It'll sound differently than when, especially when you're learning a dead language or singing a dead language. It will, it will lose itself when you sing when you put it to song.
Yeah. It's also difficult to fit a dead language into meter when it comes to verses and writing. You know, I don't know if you use lyrics in your music as well, because I know you make a
Yeah,
lot of music as well, Blake.
yeah,
Uh, and you can't change the word. The word is the word, but it's sometimes hard to like fit it, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
Yeah,
It doesn't
because
rhyme.
when you're speaking like a lot of these old Germanic languages, a lot of the emphasis is placed on the front. The stress of the word is placed on the front versus the end. So it's not, you know, it's not Othala, it's Orthala. You know, but how do you say that in a song if you're going to say it? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, so yeah, I get that.
yeah. But, also, like, what would be really interesting though is try to mimic the dead meter itself of that language. Like,
right.
Hmm. All right.
in,
Well,
in a
I've
song.
loved it, Matthew. Thank you so much for sending it our way and having it showcased here on the live stream for this 7th year anniversary. I feel like that was a beautiful um, uh, representation of the work and just what we're doing and what you're doing. So yeah, folks, you know, again, Matthew's stuff is linked in the description below. Follow his SoundCloud or subscribe to. I don't know how that platform works, but check it all out. His YouTube channel is up there too, and definitely check it out.
Yeah, Jesse, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Thank you. All right, let's get to the last comment that Kevin posted with regards to whites, who said, Kevin says at my UPG that whites are being as naturalistic as they are, don't understand human language. They do understand body language. And I can, closed example, think of right now is like a dog um, doesn't fully understand English, but they know when we are talking and communicating to them. Eric, you had kind of highlighted or called out this comment and wanted to touch a little bit on this.
Yeah, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because my picture went away, but I don't know
Yeah,
why.
you're frozen, but you might come back. We can still hear you.
Okay, cool. Long as you can hear me. Yeah, one of the things that I like to really drive home when I'm dealing with working with the Vatir or the spirits is to point out that they are other. They are not like us. They have their own ways. They have their own language, their own just way of doing things. And so it's kind of like dealing with wild animals because wild animals I see as one of the levels of Vatir. I'm not going to do the whole diatribe on the whole hierarchy of Vatir thing, but you can't just walk up and talk to a squirrel in the park and it understand your signals and what you mean, even through your body language and stuff. You can come to an understanding through repeated interactions, offerings, and demonstrations of intent and will, but it doesn't automatically happen that way. And the Vatir is the same way. We have to come to kind of an understanding. We have to interact repeatedly and show them, one, we're not a threat, two, that we honor them, and that three, there is a way we can work together and build a relationship. And it's an ongoing thing. It's not something that just happens overnight. But they are very much other. They don't think like us. They don't value the same things that we do. They are wholly other. They are alien to us. But that doesn't mean we can't find and forge a common language of deed and action that will kind of supersede all of that.
I came in late. I heard some about squirrels.
That's a good one to come in on.
You talking squirrels?
Talking squirrels. That was the point that I needed to make. I'm trying to figure out my connection now.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, it's like the whole you know I've talked before about, yes, they are. Eric, you mentioned talking about the way that the Vatir, the spirits, however you identify them as, act and behave independently of us. They exist in the profane space and time that we exist, but they are other. They are spirit, right? So in many ways and in many times, they are manifesting themselves in a physical form that we can tangibly connect to. We might recognize the spirit of the river as being, in the form of a duck or the form of a heron or the form of a turtle or this or thing, that or the other, right? Um, but by and large, right, the spirit of that place is such to be, um, outside of that body, right? How they manifest themselves, how they identify with us, could be in the form of a physical thing, um, but they are not that. Similarly to us, right? I believe that uh, we're riding around in a physical form that is identifiable. We know that when I'm looking at Eric, that it's Eric, and when he's looking at me, it's Jesse, and when it's Matt, and it's Amelia, and it's Blake, and it's Patrick, and it's whoever. But this physical form is not us entirely. It is a part of us. It's what makes up us in a physical sense. But we are beyond that. We are different than that as well. So yeah, the language, the way that we communicate, um, in and at times, these these entities, these spirits, right? They act on their own agency. I've been asked a lot, how do we connect with the Vatir? How do we strengthen our bonds with the Vatir? And I go, well, sometimes not all the Vatir are ones that we should want to strengthen or connect with.
Oh no, I had to
you know,
drive one off my land years ago.
right?
We had an
So
invasive one that just wasn't. It was bad. We ended up having to drive it out.
yeah, and that's a
Uh,
thing.
I'm sorry. Can I ask you a question about that, Eric? Um,
Sure.
is that a Husvitir?
No, 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 no. My Husvit here is what I used to help drive away. We had in the yard an invasive spirit. It had kind of an arachnid energy to it that moved in and was influencing kind of it's having a negative effect on the household energy and the energy of the worked land, which is all the purview of the Husvitir. And my Husvitir was who I banded together with, as well as wielding the powers of one of my witchy women to come out and do some rituals and things like that to help kind of make it feel unwelcome. We didn't go so far as a nistang, but it was effectively the same concept. Rituals to say, "Hey, you are not welcome. This is our land." It's the same premise as a land taking, and the role that a land taking would do. And we managed to drum it out. It was a rough go there for a little bit, though. We had a lot of outside animals that were coming up dead. There was some really negative, toxic stuff that was happening on the land and in the household that cleared up once we got that kind of taken care of.
Just reminded me, Jesse, you had a podcast a couple weeks ago where we talked about land namabok and the taking of land. And I asked a question about, I have an issue with my basement and something with my basement, and um, I think I refer to it as landvetier, but I think it should have been referred to as husvetier. But it sounds similar to something that Eric was going through as well. So I was just like, oh shit.
Yeah, the domain of the household and the worked land of the property is the domain of the husvetir. L'envetir are those that are outside. It's the same thing as the yard of Inengar. It's just a very literal. Your yard is the domain of the husvetir. It doesn't just stop at the wall. It goes all the way out to the staked property, the worked land, that which you have claimed through act and deed. and you have to continue to stake said claim repeatedly. And invasive spirits will come in. That's why we do wardings. That's why we do rune work. Why we have sachets. Why we do cleansings. Um, Seasonal things. It's really good to keep reinforcing those wards and protective layers every year in a cyclic fashion to keep those things from coming in. Uh, but they're all Vetier. Whether we put L'Envetier or Husvetier in it, that's just saying where the thing resides.
Yeah, I mean Fjallvetier. There was an ad at the beginning of the show for Fjallvetier, right? Fjallvetier Workshop is a business, a company, friends of mine, family, extended family. But the word Fjallvetier literally means mountain spirit because Fjall is mountain, and then Vetir is the spirit. So it's mountain spirit. You have Fjallvetier. You have different names of things, and Husvetier could I forget where it's
Like house.
appearing. Yeah, it's the Hus, the house, right?
Hus is, yeah, Scandinavian for house.
Kofgod is, I think, a Germanic, continental Saxon Germanic term for the same sort of thing. It's this concept that the house, the domicile, the hearth, right? Because you got to think like the huts, the way that the family lived and everything. There was a central hearth. There was a fireplace. There was a place for that hearth fire to burn to keep, warm and to keep safe. And so the people had this concept of that. Um, every home, every house was guarded by a god, a spirit. God, maybe lowercase g. Eric,
Yeah.
this is a nod to your acknowledgement of religiosities and God uppercase versus God lowercase. But
It's
uh,
important.
yeah, that spirit, that unseen, that other entity that protects and sort of takes up residence with the family in the family space in the home, and so they are your kind of guardian. And how it manifests and how it lives or how it makes itself manifest is unique to each, and each place. Some folk, I think it's very Norwegian or very Northern European, to have it as the Nisse or the Tomte, right? These sort of
Isse
gnomish
is Norwegian and Tomte is Swedish.
Swedish, yeah. So they mean the same, like the different words for the same thing. I think it's a sort of gnomish or little person representation or figure of the spirit of the domicile of the home, right, Eric?
Hmm. Yes, the Nisse and Tomte are manifestations of the Husvitir. Same kind of thing. It's just a different flavor, a different aesthetic. And honestly speaking, I find this to be similar to the idea of patron gods and goddesses, the idea of household gods and goddesses. That was actually a Roman thing too. Uh,
Hmm.
this is seen throughout multiple religions and cultures, the idea that there is that which is of the home. Uh, the difference is that we just look at things a little bit differently. Instead of being like gods, ours are, we recognize the spirit of the home, the literal animating spirit of the home that is given what we accept as the physical form, the iconography of the gnome or whatever symbol that you choose to use to represent that. There's a really good book on it. There's True Hearth, which has some very interesting takes on dealing with Husvitir. And then there is Tradition of the Household Gods, or Household Spirits, Tradition of Household Spirits by
Oh,
Claude
Claude.
Lecoteau.
Yes.
Fantastic book.
Isn't
I have both. I have
isn't
his
one of
and
them?
the Demons and Angels. There's another one. Claude's got great.
Claude's got several things. Emilia, what'd you have?
Isn't one of them? I remember a long time ago, like y'all were talking and Kuf God was mentioned.
Kofgod.
I said, yeah,
That's what Jesse was talking about before. That's
yeah,
Anglo-Saxon side of things.
yeah,
The Kofgod is the Husvitir. It's just a different name
yeah.
for it.
Yeah, because I remember that being said like a
Yeah.
long time ago, and it's always like stuck in the back of my mind because you think about all of us and all our recollection because there's stuff that's in the demographics, and geographical restrictions from
Mhm.
Swedish, Norwegian, Icelandic, Saxon, Old Saxon, Anglo-Saxon, and you think of the Germanic and Jotuns and Frisians and Danes and different things like that, and they all had different words, and so you hear it at so many different angles, and it's comparing and contrast and stuff. And I know, like, I remember hearing that when, I first met y'all, 7 years ago, and I was like, wait, what? Because, like, I hadn't really got into the Anglo-Saxon because I was mainly in, like, Old Norse and Old Icelandic, and that's all
Right.
I stayed at until, Old Saxon, Anglo-Saxon was becoming really popular 7 years ago, and then I dove into that and, learned different words and understandings of certain stuff. And, and I realized from when y'all were talking about house spirits and different things like that, you think about it like the house spirit of an older house may be different from when you have like a brand new house built because it could be forged differently with that house spirit, as well as like, say for example, it's been a property that's been abandoned for years, on land or whatever, compared to something that's in a busy area that's always had there, or something may have happened because you really don't know the history or that area, so to speak. Like, for example, where I live at, when I first moved into my house 13 years ago, almost 14, I had my friends were like, dude, I see shadows in your yard. Like, I was like, dude, I have no idea what that is. And then somebody was like, dude, there's one in your house, it's in the corner behind you. And I'm like, this house, I bought it and had it moved on my land, so I don't know what people did beforehand, and maybe just one walked in here and I'll take care of it, and put my wards up and bless my house and create a sacred space within my home for protection and all those different things. And like, a lot of people don't understand that there's multiple layers when it comes to the way of life that we live. And we could go all day on this and comparison and contrast and swap stories of different experiences, because almost all of us are going to have some story that's similar to one another on
Yep.
experiences of things we dealt with, especially for people who's been a part of these traditions for so long. Like, how many years have you been a part of this, Eric?
Oh,
You
what did I
said
say? Like
06, right?
2006, like
Yeah. So
19, almost 20
20
years.
years.
yeah,
Yeah.
and see, I'm on my 16th year. And
106.
so it's just every experience is so
Maybe
different.
longer ago than that.
I don't know. So it's just everybody's experiences are so different. And, some of us have been, you know, at it longer than others. And, sharing stories and sharing experiences are guides for newer people that are just starting out from our knowledge and wisdom, because we're all walking libraries basically with different things that we've read or seen and,
Yeah.
heard, or, through the grapevine and whatnot.
Yeah.
An
And,
experience.
and for me, like, one of my most interesting things that I observe is, kindreds and tribes, how they rise and fall. And they've done that for so many years. And it's so interesting to hear the different dynamics of things when, the different types of spirits, the lands, the mountains, the forests, the sea, the creeks, the streams, it just can go on and on and on about different experiences. Like, my first experience, with dealing with the spirits was when I was a little kid, living up in the little mountains of Arkansas, camping out there as a kid. And that's where, I made my connection with Odin when I was a kid, even though I didn't really know who his name was. And yeah, it took me till I was about 21 until I,
Yeah.
figured
Feel
out
that.
who he really was. But, he came to me as a child, not in a physical form, but in a spiritual form, and told me, one day I would understand who he is, but to remember his name and, to go from there. And he came in a spiritual aspect, even though it wasn't a physical form, in the mountains and everything of the spirits of that area. So it's really
Remember my
interesting.
name. Well, which name should I remember you by? Because you
Yeah.
got
Right.
I
150,000
know,
different
right?
names.
You got tons of them. I know.
I'm just going to get caught up on some comments here. While Heathen
Right.
Wolfpack mentioned something on the topic of greater heathenry, there is many ways to heathen facts. You have
Hmm.
Ossitru, Theism, um,
That's your
Germanism.
Anglo-Saxon folks.
Well, okay. Let me just add a disclaimer here. The Theidish folk, watch out. It's Theism has some real touchy stuff here that does, especially in today's climate, can really strike some nerves to people.
There can also be a regional aspect of that.
Yeah.
I got a good buddy who's Thaidish, and we are night and day on some of the ways that we believe and structures, but we have some of the best conversations, and he's the most solid man I've ever met,
Oh
and
yeah,
I'll cut for him any day.
yeah,
Uh, but so I can't necessarily discredit Theism as a whole because I've seen it in action where it works. I've also seen the
right,
toxicity of it, but I've also seen
right.
that in every one of these.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Also true. Forget about it. You know, it's
Yeah.
everybody's got their own way of doing things. You know, greater heathenry as in. So they're saying, you know, is a greater heathenry or an orthodox practice in heathenry is somewhat an oxymoron.
Mhm.
Heathenry isn't orthodoxic; it's orthopraxic.
We've had this
I'd have
discussion.
to say that much.
Yeah, we've had this discussion before. It
You
is
mean-
orthopraxic. It is absolutely orthopraxic. There can be some orthodoxic elements to it in accepted lore, in on a tribal level, it can be orthodoxic. As a greater whole, no.
But yeah, but that's the key point, right? At a tribal
Exactly.
level, it's
At a
your
tribal level.
tribal
But even then,
it's tradition and the thing of that tribe that
right.
is adopted. It's not that this tribe does it, therefore it's what every tribe does.
Right, but on that same point, the greater heathenry isn't orthopraxic either because things are done differently in different regions and by different tribes.
Fair
There
point.
are some that will say bloat is only blood sacrifice, and that is the only way that you can do it. Others will differentiate between bloat and feigning. Some will focus on the fact that bloat doesn't mean blood, it means sacrifice. And therefore, an offering is made, regardless whether or not it's blood offering. So,
Yeah.
it still doesn't necessarily pinpoint on the whole orthopraxic thing. I am one of those that say there's as many different versions of heathenry as there are different tribes in the world.
Sure. Yeah. Do you guys, gals, have a beginner group? I've been bullied by heathens in the past, so hesitant to risk it with random groups, says Seti the Red. Seti, I don't know if you're still watching this because I'm just getting caught up on a lot of comments, but yours is the last one that I saw.
It was only 9 minutes ago. We're good.
I mean, this is kind of a question that I would say, like, where are you, like, and this is a tough question to ask, like, oh, where are you located, right? A lot of folks nowadays are using monikers and online personas to hide their true identity, which I totally understand out of safety reasons. When it comes to your beginner group thing that you're looking for, um, I'll put myself out here as a POC, a point of contact. If you want to email midgardmusingstn@gmail.com with some of your um, specifics, I totally understand if you don't want to put this out on a public sort of thing. But if you're a beginner looking to get established or to learn things at a very one-on-one level, it would be helpful to know where you are if we can put you in contact with people in your area that can help you with this. Matt, you had a question. You raised your hand there, Matt. Go ahead.
I'm actually really sorry. I have to leave. I'm so sorry about that. A little late. I just gotta this stuff work to do tomorrow early, and it's just I really want to thank you guys for having me. Thank you, Jesse. Congratulations on 7 years. Thank you for everything. Everyone, it's really nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I just gotta go. I'm so sorry.
No worries, Matt. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you, man. We'll stay in touch. But yeah, so yeah. Anyways, Sadie the Red, if you see this now or see it later, whatever, I'll happily be in contact with you if you want to email me midgardmusingstn@gmail.com to help with that. I've talked about some things on my own channel. I know Eric has a Heathenry 101 thing on his, which if you go on YouTube and just search for the Ravens Call, his will be the channel that pops up. But
It's episode 4.
What's that?
Episode 4 is Heathenry 101.
Okay. Oh, and they are still here. So they're in the UK. Tried monthly online spaces and run into the Brosa True types in the UK. I know somebody who lives in the UK, but I don't know. I know it's not a very big spot of land. So I don't want to say like I know somebody and you might can connect with them because north and south and east and west and this and that. But again, I know somebody who um, lived here in North America. Their spouse is Portuguese and was raised in England. They currently live in the UK now. Maybe I can get in contact. Maybe I can get you in contact with them, and you can figure out geographics in terms of locations. They are trying to create something of a um, like a brick and mortar location. They have a business that they're trying to open, sort of a metaphysical shop, but he's very animistic in his heathenry. Seti the Red. So if you want to email me again with some more specifics, geographics in terms of where you are in the UK, I'm happy to. You say northwest. I don't know where my friend is located specifically. I'm just not familiar with the geographics of the landscape to know where exactly they are. But it's a point of contact that at least I know of. If anybody else here knows of anybody in the UK that they want to throw out here or suggest, then that's fine. But that's my 2 cents.
I don't think
Yeah,
I've got anybody in the UK right now.
yeah, I've got one in Denmark and then one in France, and then I have another one in Norway, and there's one in Sweden that I know of, but not in the UK.
I have a friend in Wales, but he's not heathen
Yeah.
at all.
Okay. We'll see what we can do then. You got my contact information. Feel free to shoot me an email. Crushing Nihilism says I've had a drunk chieftain who had a firearm on him screaming in my face for upsetting his brother. Kindreds can be squirrely. Yikes on several bikes there, my guy.
Yeah, those are red flags.
Yeah.
Yeah, run,
Yeah, multiple red flags there.
run.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Just
One, there is no gatekeeping and everything you're doing is wrong.
Hey,
yeah.
that was such a thing back in the day of heathenry online, and I
Yep.
hated it.
Yep.
That
Yep.
you're doing it wrong, guys. And I think we've mostly gotten past a lot of that. It's always going to be there. There's always going to be an element of the hardcore, like hardcore reconstructionist, or just the "I am so full of myself, my way is the only way" kind of thing. But I think enough sane people have gotten on the internet at this point that there are workarounds for that. But man, is that a callback?
I
Yeah.
don't know.
I
There's
got I
like
got
two.
flashbacks.
Good. There's two pages that I'm on, and originally it was people posting really good stuff, and then all of a sudden it turned into Vikings this, Vikings that, and
Um,
then it turned into like this. I'm looking for a shield maiden. I'm looking for my Viking man, and
oh,
I'm like,
the Viking
and I
dating services.
yeah, and I'm just like, no, it wasn't that in the beginning. Like people were actually posting good stuff, and then it went back to Vikings the TV
Evolve.
show, and then it went into Vikings Valhalla, and then all of a sudden they started talking about soup. Every time somebody said Viking, they would talk about Viking soup, and then it turned into I'm looking for a shield maiden, and I'm like, what just? And it conspired over like a month, and it was ridiculous because I post pretty much the basic stuff of understanding of, you know, what is a part of our faith about the Eddas, the sagas, and I do summaries about different things and the gods, goddesses, you
Yeah.
know, different entries about stuff about the
I like your
rune.
rune posts too there, Amelia. Like the
I
daily
love
rune.
I love and hate those things at the same time because I'll have one guy that'll come on there and he'll make a comment and I'm just like okay, or somebody will like nitpick something. I'm like, listen, are you making stuff like this? No. Are you helping build a better community? Do you have a kindred? Are you doing anything besides trolling people? And they're like, no. And I'm like, then get off my page. Like, I don't have time for you. Like, I'm trying to help other people learn because I remember when we all started out, it was like digging through books to try to find good stuff. And like to me, like even the first like 3 or 4 years, it took me that long to find the good books not the ones that were UPG and different things like that until I came across the right library. And, for us, the way everything is right now, we could teach so easily because we've already been where they're at. So we could help them skip those corners that we had to go through reading the dry reads or the bad reads or, the books that were a waste of our time. And so for me, it's just like people just make a comment or talk crazy. And I'm like, get off River Pine right now. Like, I don't have time for you. I'm going to pull the mom card. Go home right
Sit
now.
down, little
I don't
boy.
have time. Like, I don't have time for you. And, I'm always giving my mom vibes off because,
Get off my lawn.
I know, and I'm trying to help people, because I don't ever want anybody to be where I was because I practiced alone. And you've heard me talk about this before, Jesse. I practiced alone for 7 or 8 years before River Pine got established. And yeah, it did teach me a lot of great lessons. And I had, you know, a solitary practice that was a different connection than what I have with the community that I do now and with River Pine members as well as other people that, we build community with. It's a different spiritual connection. But man, Facebook some days and that algorithm, it's just like beating you up and people are
Yeah,
trolling. And I'm like, I'm going to be off Facebook. I'm just going to share my stuff that I have scheduled out. You share it, wonderful. It's like I'm
y-
not going to be on here for the rest of the day
yeah, dude.
because
And
it's
you and me, Amelia, you and I, and even Eric there for the longest time. Like being a anybody content creators. You know what I mean? Like too many people chase the algorithm. Too many people chase the trends. Too many
Mhm.
people try to stay relevant to whatever it is that's popular. And I hit a point a couple years ago where I was trending down that dangerous path where I'm like, I got to stay relevant. I got to keep up in my views and this and that. And it was taking away from the authenticity
Yeah.
of what I do. And that's such a it is. It's an easy trap to find oneself caught in. Um, like the say to the red, like they feel that people are really harsh in many spaces to beginners. And listen, if you're going to talk about Loki, anybody who has miles into their tires that has an ego about them is going to come firing back at you with some really harsh stuff about Loki. I mean, that's just there's less people that know how to approach that in a right way than there are that people that just want to attack you
Yeah.
if that's your angle on things. It's a touchy place to be as a heathen if Loki is your focus of attention. I'll say that. You're going to get a lot of flack.
It's a tough road to hoe. And that is one that is probably the most contentious. Uh, so, Seti, as you're going through and you're doing stuff, do not take it seriously. All right, don't let it get to you. The only person whose opinion matters on your practice is your own. And as long as my rules are, as long as you're good with your gods, the ancestors, and the people around you, you're a good heathen in my book. I'm not gonna judge. I don't balk. Now there are certain ones that I won't do ritual with if that's their tack, simply because our religious views don't jive.
Mhm.
There are individuals out there that can have a diplomatic and intelligent conversation with you without falling into vitriol and
And
No, no.
and
He
he said
froze.
And
He froze.
he'll be back.
am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You said
There you go.
and then we lost you for a second.
Yeah, I know. I went away. My whole thing was just steady, hang in there. It's a tough road, but the only one who matters is you. Not my hall, not my call. Forget the Odengard. They don't matter.
Yeah, it's Trollheim. Eric has been
Trollheim.
Eric has been
Trollheim.
known to coin that term. Trollheim is the internet. It's the realm of trolls, and nothing
Yes.
good about trolls in the lore.
Troll gang.
they're menacing. They're meddlesome little suckers. You know what I mean?
Do not feed the trolls.
I don't even respond to them anymore. They'll just say whatever, and I'm just like, thumbs up.
Don't feed the trolls. Exactly.
Which is weird to do when you're when you're creating content, right? Like, because that's the whole thing they tell you, right? Oh, you got to engage with your this and that and
Engage.
this and that.
Engage with, no, don't
I'll
engage.
tell you what, engage with this
Right.
because I
Eh,
ain't got time.
eh,
I ain't got time
Well,
for you.
exactly.
I don't know. My positive way that I do everything, if I can't comment on what they're talking about, because it's just, I don't really have anything to say, like I'll heart it or I'll put the caring emoji on it or
Yeah,
I'll say thank you, I appreciate you, and I keep it real positive
yeah,
I
and
just
everything.
scroll
But
on.
like,
Let my
but
demons
my
take care of it.
my main deal is like, after so long, because you can only talk about the runes for so long and, different parts of the Eddas and the sagas. And, don't get me wrong, there's like 45 sagas, I think there is, that you can go through they're not really like, there's really only like maybe 7 or 8 popular ones. And then all the rest are just kind of, miscellaneous ones. But like for me, like when it comes to making content, like after a while you just kind of hit a roadblock and then you have to start repeating everything again. I worry that, oh, well, would they like it if I bring back up the runes again or go through the gods and goddesses again,
Yeah. Content
And
creation's
it's
a tough
after,
thing.
yeah, and like you can only talk about so many different aspects to where the story gets old.
How many episodes in are you?
I'm not on episodes. I do posts. Like I do very in-depth posts and
Gotcha, gotcha,
stuff.
gotcha. I'm I was when I took my hiatus, I was at like 200 something episodes,
Yeah.
and you definitely hit a wall, especially when you're doing like
Yeah.
45-minute long diatribes about heathen stuff.
Yeah.
You can find inspirations and then get the juices flowing again, and then rev right back up and go down an alley that you realize that you haven't done yet. But yeah, you'll hit those points where it's just like I can't, and then you'll have like with me like life stuff ate up all my spoons. I didn't have any spoons left. Uh,
Yeah.
so unfortunately, content creation had to be one of the first things that fell by the wayside. And I'm looking to get back into it, but it's also daunting because trying to get back onto a schedule and stuff and craziness and work and all this other stuff. I'm like, I've really got to be ready
Yeah.
to jump in it if I'm going to do it.
I know that's one of my
yeah.
deals. I think I spend all Sunday long making content for 5 days, and I've gotten to the point where I do 2 posts a day, and then like Saturdays I check on and see how people's weekends are going, and then Sunday I shout out to the new people that joined River Pine. And like I had somebody message me and they were like, "Oh, can you teach classes online?" And I'm like, "Well, I've already got lessons plans made up that are already wrote out on my Google Docs. Would you like to use them?"
Mm.
And he was like, "Yeah, that's great and everything, and it goes over the eddas, on each one of them on different, explaining and
Yeah.
breaking everything down. It's like a 3-month process to go through all of it, to understand and digest it all. Because, I think a lot of people, they rush through all these different things. And, there's like over 150 books that you can read that are
That's it.
good books.
That's it.
To, no, the ones that I've found, like
I know.
like
A
a
minimum.
good 150
It's a
books.
starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
150.
and
And there comes a point where you've got to stop reading and start living.
yes,
Dang,
yes.
And that's one
And
of the
I
points that
wrote,
I hit. That was like, I'm going to stop
yeah.
reading books and start writing books.
Yeah, and see that's when I made that post on heathenry. Like you could read all the books that you want, but if you cannot practice these things in your daily life, you're missing the point. It's
yeah,
just like, yeah, like you could dress like a someone from the Viking age. Go to a Ren fair and dress like your ancestors did to,
that's LARPing.
honor them. Yes, I know. I know it's
LARP
LARPing.
is not
But
heathenry,
at the end of the day, you still have to wear your regular clothes and go back to work.
right?
Just like, the mother, being a mother, raising your kids, teaching them about the old ways and stuff. That's being a hearth mother, even though they may not realize it. Just like, yeah, living off the land and being a farmer may bring you closer to the land spirits and things like that. But there will come a point sometimes you do have to go to the grocery store for something. eventually, because we live in a modern day and we are modern heathens.
Yeah. It does tip into the whole, again, regionalization, grassroots kind of
Yeah,
thing. The
yeah,
heathenry of a farmer is going to be different than the heathenry of a city dweller or a rural
yeah,
individual who doesn't farm.
Yeah.
There's going to be some significant differences. Victor are going to play
yeah,
a much larger role, very palpable and like life-threatening role. It's like if this doesn't work, then the crop goes down and we aren't going to be able to pay for the farm, kind of deal.
Right.
Uh, I
Yeah,
mean, yeah,
that's a big thing of it nowadays. Like, there's a lot of that homesteading mentality. I mean, just the way that the
yeah,
world has become. There's a lot of folk, whether they're heathen or not, that are looking to the land as you don't even have to go back that very far in our recent history. I mean, 100, 200 years, if that, 2 or 3 generations most, where
mhm,
people were more reliant and more dependent upon the land than they are now, and
yeah,
they're realizing that it's like, this is something I need to do. Well, yeah, it's just, I mean,
yeah. And
when
see, I
everything
think
else
it's great.
shits the bed,
Like, yeah,
what else?
and to me, like, I think it's great that all this stuff is, you know, being brought back to light and everything. And in a way, it's funny because they always do those posts like she starts off with making sourdough, and then they make the joke that the husband might as well go to Lowe's and start building a chicken coop because that's what's coming next, and then the garden and the rabbits and everything else, and they make a joke about it now on those reels and stuff. And for me, like, I live out in the country. Like, yes, like, I can't grow my own wheat, but I do buy wheat berries and, mill my own flour. I do can and make stuff from scratch. I do, holistic stuff and make tinctures, and, I make my own vanilla extract and things like that. Like, I do make a lot of stuff homemade, even though, yes, I do work a full-time job, and,
Yeah,
I have a family and, River Pine and the
you do what
community
you
and all
can.
that. Yeah, we do what we can. And like, yeah, like back in the day when my kids were little and I was at home, yeah, I could do a whole lot more. But now, I still find a balance in it all. And, it gives me a sense of pride that I can mill my own flour and make some bread from scratch. My kids love it. But at the same time, yeah, like, does it really bring me closer to my ancestors?
Yeah.
No.
Like, you
It's
have
just,
to
there's
live it.
always
It's a
yeah,
living
there's a
tradition.
balance.
You have to live
Yeah,
it. I
it's a
mean,
balance.
if what it takes for you to do that requires you to learn from books and you have to read and you have to study. I mean, I
Yeah,
grew up on a farm, and learned the farming lifestyle, the homesteading lifestyle because I was doing it. So much of that comes from, actual life experiences. It
hmm,
wasn't so much I read it from a book and I thought it was cool and let me adopt it. It was I
yeah,
lived it, you know. I was active in that lifestyle, and so if what it takes for people that didn't have that living experience is to read about it, okay, that's a seed. That's a seed that's planted, and then you apply. You have to, and then once the seed is planted, what do we have to do? Right? We have to nurture the seed. We have to
hmm,
water it. We have to dung it. We have to feed it. We have to nurture it. We have to do the thing, you know,
hmm,
that is what it takes to grow what it is you're trying to do. It's not about, I'm not talking about the things that we're talking about today just to talk about it. It's sharing knowledge. It's sharing education. It's collaborating. It's getting people together in this sort of way to, these are people that live it
yeah.
in
And we
some
also
form or
come from
fashion.
it from
yeah.
different points.
You know whose heathenry I care about?
Yours,
Exactly. You know whose I don't
Hmm.
care about?
mine.
Exactly. If you're not in
I'm
my
a lot
hidden
offended
camp,
by that.
I don't care. Not
I'm
my
not offended
hall,
by that.
not my call. I only care about my heathenry, my approach to heathenry. I care about Ridgar and Our Way. The Ridgari heathenry is the only heathenry that really matters to me, and that's because this is ours. This is our existence. This is what we are living, and I don't care what anybody else says. I don't care if somebody in California or the UK is telling me that I'm doing it wrong. Dude that lives next door to Thingvellir can call me up and be like, "You're not doing it right." I'll be like, "I don't care. I genuinely don't care. I'm doing it right by us. This is
Yeah.
how we have to do it." And The
Now,
things that we do, we're passing on.
Oh, there he goes. He got excited. He lost the signal.
yeah, he'll be back.
And yeah, and
But
it's
like,
funny
My
because
back.
of the fact that
serious.
there's a guy that I know in Norway, and he feels the same way that Eric does. Like he literally tells people all the time, "You don't like it because I'm a heathen or the way I live." He's like, "I don't care." He was just like,
Okay.
"You do not affect my life, and I'm gonna go on with my life." And he's very bold about it. Like even if we have different moments of thought processes about different things, he's like, "I don't care." And then we keep on with the conversation. It's just it is what it is kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're not paying bills on our back porch.
Right.
They're not. You know, it's
To
kind of
that
one of the
point,
things that I.
Sorry.
Yeah, go
to
ahead.
that point, to that
To
point,
that point.
I would also like to just play devil's advocate and say, what if, right? The thing that we're doing respectively to one another is what it is. And then we have somebody else that says, "Hey, I'm doing this thing, that, or the other." Can we be open minded enough to not infringe upon the luck, the strength, everything that our individual collectives have retained, maintained, and built? Can we be open and, and constructive enough to be like, I'm gonna take what you say. I'm gonna see if it applies, or I'm gonna at least be observant enough.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna shut you off 100% because it's not your way, therefore it's not my way, and therefore meh. Right? Can we be wise enough, as Odin is, as the Wanderer, to understand that there are things that can happen outside of our immediate tribal beliefs or structures that can maybe be beneficial. Oh, maybe I need to learn this thing, that, or the other.
Wisdom is
I could
wisdom
agree with
regardless
that.
of the source.
Right.
I could agree with that because when River Pine first started, you know, these three people wanted to start a Kindred, and I wasn't really. I was just along for the ride at the moment, taking it all into consideration. And we went to several other different kindreds and tribes to get a feel of how they did stuff and, ask their wisdom. I met Eric and I met several other kindreds until we decided how we wanted to do the foundation. Yeah, we found inspiration in different ways and we made it into our own to where it works for us. And I've never really had anybody knock how we do rituals or our gatherings or anything like that, to be honest. Like, but I'm pretty sure there's people that don't really like people that were in the past that was in our kindred, which that's fine too. I don't really care. But everybody does stuff differently, and we find inspiration. Like I've went to numerous rituals from different kindreds, and they've taught me valuable lessons about how they did ritual, which in the end, to me, honestly, going to these rituals and gatherings and meeting these different people helps shape me into the Githia that I did not know that I was becoming when River Pine first started, to make me be the person that I am now, and shaped me into what I do for community, as well as how we do ritual structure and how our kindred or tribe is set up. People inspire us in different ways, and sometimes they teach us good things, and sometimes they teach us things that we realize that we don't want in our life, and it
Yeah.
gives us, everybody is our guide to something that what we're going to be in the outcome, and it can be positive or negative. It can be in the middle of the road type of stuff, and it is what it is.
And this all ties into the whole luck aspect of things too.
Thank you, Blake. I was just thinking the same thing. Luck, it's not inherently good or bad. Lessons are not inherently good or bad. It's what do you do with with the instruction, with the lesson,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
that's what I
It
do.
can
Is I
be
like
a
to
lesson or a
take things
blessing.
from everybody. Like if I go to another person's gathering or something like that, I usually take away things, just like she said. Emily said here is that when I go to different ritual stuff, I look at what they're doing, I look at what we're doing, but I'll I won't like do exactly how they do it, but I will take little nuggets with me as I go.
Yeah, if that's the appropriate thing to do, right? Because I mean, listen, if I were to go to East Texas tomorrow and or next month or whenever, right, and be a part of Fridgar's Leafga, You know what I mean, or whatever.
Yep.
And then Eric comes in the next week and sees what we do for Cigar Bloat. There's going to be
Yeah.
differences. There's going to be different things. It's a time of year where each tribe or each group or each collective is doing something for that time of year, but they're doing
Yeah.
it in different ways.
Yep.
Maybe one group learns something from the other, and vice versa, and then we
Yeah.
take that information or that knowledge or that sharing or whatever back, and we
Yeah.
talk and we say, hey, this is what these people did. I'm not saying to change something just for the sake of changing it. If it ain't broke,
Yeah.
don't fix it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
if something is inspiring enough to say, wow, this moved me, right? What
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, we don't
You
want to
have
compromise
something
the
to
Like,
tradition
learn.
of a group or,
like
or a
going to a
tribe or
potluck.
anything just for the
It's
sake
kind
of
of like going to a potluck. Like it's kind of like going to a potluck and you find recipes that you like and you want to borrow it. Like say, you mind sharing?
right, like a recipe.
like a big meal or something like that. And it's like swapping recipes.
Does anyone ever have visions or dreams from after having a ritual or a bloat or whatever you want to call it?
I have.
That's not something I'm
I
going
have
to
yet.
there.
I have not yet.
What'd you say, Eric?
So that's not something I'm going to discuss on the air.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say I have, but I won't necessarily go into
Yeah,
like
that's what I meant. That's what I meant too.
details
Like
to
I
it.
was
Yeah.
just gonna say it was a yes or no question.
Since we've
It's
all
just
kind of simmered down now, you want to check off one more box on the bingo thing for whoever's got their scorecards ready.
Are we
The
playing
why,
4 quarters?
the why matters.
Purpose.
The why matters. That's why, I look at how other people do things and their ritual, and I figure out their why. What is the purpose? Is it, are we trying to facilitate connection to the gods and goddesses? Okay. We have our mechanism for it. Let me see if the way they meet that why is any more effective than the way we meet the why. And if so, why is that? And then I'll use that to refine our way. I won't replace our way, but I will refine it. I'll hone it and fine
Yeah.
craft it like a craftsman who is working towards a masterwork piece.
Yeah.
I will sit there and just drive that in until I get it exactly where I need it. I'm dialing it in for our tribe and the way we do things. And so, yeah, absolutely. And I will share certain elements of how we do things for other people so that they can do the same thing. They can figure out their why. And but I won't share everything because I don't want them just to crib our stuff. I want them to figure out the why. Figure out how to feed the why, chase the why. That's where knowledge is. Knowledge isn't in following a recipe. Knowledge is, wisdom is learning to look at what you got, figuring out what you could make. Dial that in.
Yeah, knowledge versus wisdom, right? Knowledge is knowing the recipe. Wisdom is do I cook this? Is the recipe good for the people? Are they going to be able to eat what I'm cooking? Are they going
Yes.
to be able to absorb the meal that I provide? If not,
Like
then the knowledge doesn't really mean anything because I've got this, but it doesn't have a practical application. There's no purpose for knowing it. It's just
mhm.
vacant knowledge at that point. I know something for the sake of knowing it. Big whoop, right? So the purpose, yes, I believe what you're saying, Eric, is wise, right? Know your why. Why
The
I've
why
talked about this.
matters.
I've talked about this countless times before too, right? Purpose over intention. You might have the greatest intention behind learning everything from A to Z. Well, what's the purpose? Where
Mhm.
is your purpose in learning this? Are you going to apply all these things to the
Right.
betterment of your people? Or just is it just to have a notch on your belt to say I know this, blah blah blah, right?
Figure out what the why is, and the how will make itself clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to hit all of my catchphrases by the time we're done here.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. Max. Oof da.
Mm-hmm.
Oof da. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The drinking game.
Well, I'm going to say
Otherwise, never do the drinking game to my YouTube channel. You will die.
Oh yeah, I'll be the first to attend and probably the first to leave. Sometimes you only know your whys to things ain't made for everyone. Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of it. It's it's not cookie cutter. It's not universal. One size does not fit all. Um, and that's what you have to. That's what we have to take away from it. It's Kevin says that I missed Big UPG morning.
No, but you did. I did do the whole 3, 2, 1. Let's jam before we went live.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, yeah.
Big UPG warning at the top of the show.
What is it? The Heathen Ossipope. That was the other one.
Ah, yes, the Ossipope.
Um,
I am no Ossipope.
No, and neither am I. Neither are we. And that's it gets lost a little bit because we get into this like rhythm or this pattern of doing things. I come on here every week and I do this show, and I try to give a disclaimer, especially on the regular stuff, like, hey, you know, this is my view on things. It's not a reflection on the overarching heathen. It's not even a reflection on the people that I tend to run with per se. It's my view on things. So take that as you will. Do your own research. Find your way. Find a way or make a way. But do your own diligence, right? Like do your own research. Find it out if it fits for you.
Oh, here's one for you, Jesse. I know we're still doing comments and stuff, but we were talking about predestination earlier, right? And we were talking about, kind of approach on the gods and stuff. Well, there's a saying that has always bugged me, and that's everything happens for a reason. That's a predestination way of looking at things. That's like driven in Western thought. My
Mhm.
counter to that is that it's not that everything happens for a reason. It's that you must find the reason in everything that happens.
Ooh,
Ooh.
find the reason why it
Find
happened.
the
Find the
reason.
why.
What's the logic? What's the wisdom? What's the
Yeah.
lesson that you can learn from this? Because it's not necessarily set out. So sometimes you have to
Well, you were
interpret
there
it.
at that moment to be present when it happened. You could have been anywhere else, but you were
Yeah.
there.
Find the reason in
Yeah,
what happened.
find the why.
Anyway,
Goes back to
sorry.
that.
That cued a thought for me. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna go down another rabbit hole. I was
No,
gonna
we're
say
good.
we
I'll stop
have.
it there.
I
I'll stop
was
it there.
like, oh my
We might
goodness.
just leave that. We might just put that
Leave it on that.
as the
The tagline.
the tagline.
Yeah,
Find the why.
yeah.
Say it one more time, Eric. It's not that everything happens for a reason.
It's not everything happens for a reason. It's find the reason in everything that happens.
All right.
But you gotta pay attention though. Gotta
Yeah.
have that sight for it, because some people just go through their life just going through the motions, and there's like, I don't know why this keeps on happening, and then all of a sudden they don't see the big picture, and
And
it's
they
like,
ask, right? They ask outside. Why is this happening to me? They ask the Gothi, they ask the spiritual leader, they ask the person, they ask the shaman, why am I sick? Why am I sick?
Figure
Figure
it
it
out.
out. Figure it out.
Figure it out.
Why are you asking me?
Right?
You know? And
Figure it
that's a
and
hard thing
like, don't
to
get me wrong, like, I know common sense isn't very common, and like some people see
It's a
stuff from a
superpower.
spiritual level, that some people can see and some people can't. It doesn't matter if it's a mentally, physically thing for the why when it comes to people and stuff like that, but it's just there's some stuff I see these days and I'm just like, wow.
yeah.
I'm like, I was like,
Well,
I don't know why that happened, but here we are. It's like it's why we do or don't have nice things. Or it's like I just see something, I'm like, well, I'm gonna
I
head
am the
out.
reason you
Y'all
can't
have
have
a
those things.
Yeah, it's like y'all have a good day. Like I'm gonna head on out. Like I don't know where you get off at, but I'm gonna go that way. Have a good day. Just goodness.
yeah.
And as a Gothi or a Githia or a leader, so to speak, at times you have to be a peacekeeper, and then other times you just have to put your foot down and be like, nope, no ma'am, not happening.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
it's a unique place to find oneself in when there's things happening, and it's for the well-being of your people, right? You
Hmm.
look out for them, and then sometimes the steps to take for their well-being is to be harsh, I guess.
Yeah.
There's this degree of tough love that comes at some point in time. Like you're not getting it, and you've got to go through that ordeal in order to get it. And I'm not going to coddle you through this. I'll be there when you come out of it, maybe to pick you up or to kind of guide you back. But at the same time, like there's a lesson here that only you are intended to learn here, and I can't learn it for you.
Yeah.
You know?
And being a Gothi or a Githia, it takes its toll not just on your tribe or your kindred, but like in a way, you're still like a husband or a wife. You have children, or you have some form of legacy, and it just takes its toll either way it goes on stuff, and you have to find a balance with it all to be fair, to do your role of your obligation and things like that. And you know it's hard to find a balance with it all, especially dealing with large communities or even smaller communities, and helping in different ways, as well as keep your home life and your work life and everything all separated without bleeding into one another. Because there's some people that just let one thing get away from the other and put it to the wayside, and it's not a positive thing, and it's hard to keep a balance within it all, as well
Yeah.
as teaching and being a content creator or a teacher, which I know both of y'all guys, y'all love teaching about stuff. Like for me, it's like I'm a good storyteller. Teaching's not really my favorite thing, but
Storytelling is
I
my favorite way to teach.
I know, but you're a very good teacher. Both of y'all are, in
Thank
my
you.
book. And for me, like I'm pretty good at it. But at the same time, like I think my stuff's boring, and I'm not trying to be negative about it, but it's just, you know, to me, with the Norse faith, so many people have taught about it repetitively, and I'm like, well, why should I do it? And I could just share what Eric's done or what Jesse's done, and I don't have to teach, but I come to find out actually people like the way I teach. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
I mean, we're not going to be here forever.
yeah, I know. We're not going to be here. We're all around the same age. So,
Like let's
tomorrow's
all
not
do our
promised.
part. Let's all exhibit our own main.
Yeah.
Let's all feed our own gift frame. Let's all do our own part to leave a story to be told. Let our songs be sung amongst our own hearths, right? Let the songs of Eric be sung amongst the Hridgari. Let the songs of Amelia be sung amongst the River Pine, and let my songs be sung amongst whoever, wherever they land. Like let's do our part. Let's hail the doers.
Yeah.
Hail the doers.
You know
Maybe one day we'll have rune stones of us, of our deeds that we done.
that'd be mighty. That would be a
Oh,
mighty declaration of a legacy, right? To be left, like to have a rune stone carved to one's memory. Like
oh yeah, that would be
I
epic.
that's pretty
I
epic.
will be happy if in 2 generations Ridgar is still here and somebody remembers my name.
I know, because they've talked about that, and that's like a 3 generation thing to keep all that going. Like they were
The three
doing, like,
generation rule. It takes one
yeah.
generation to introduce, the second to perpetuate, the third to instill.
Hmm.
Well, I'm confident that at least with the audience that I have here today, celebrating 7 years, you know, that's I think about how old was I when I was 7 years old, and how long ago was 7 years, and then 7 years prior and prior. Where were we all 7 years ago, and then 7 years before that, and then when we were seven and everything, and then what do we
Yeah.
remember about
It's
that
all
time of our lives? We can all hopefully remember that portion of
yeah.
our existence, and then 7 years from now, and what we're going to be doing. It's incredibly strong webs that we weave. I hope.
It's the
I
theory
see
anyway.
that
That's the
there's two
theory anyway. That's the
people.
hope, right? that's the idea.
There's
That's what we're shooting
there's
for.
two people talking on here, and they're talking about addiction and sobriety.
That is
And
a whole different ballgame.
oh, I know, but I'm sitting there listening to what they're talking about. I'm slowly actually working on a book for addiction and recovery book that has a workbook tied into it that I'm slowly revising right now and trying to get the fine tunings on it so I could publish the book. So for uh, Set the Red and Crushing
Crushing nihilism.
Methodism.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Struggling with addiction. Yeah.
so
This is a topic that could be dedicated to a whole
yeah.
entire thing. And in respect of my guest's time, I would like to wrap this up and give people a chance to get back to their home life because you all were kind enough to take time out of your evening, and I didn't even give a time, but you've been here for over 2.5 hours. That is tremendous. It is more than I could have ever asked for. I owe each of you much more. Um, so two
You
and
owe
a
me
half
that.
times three. You know, whatever I can do to make up the time, I appreciate it. But I do want to give you back your time because it is late, and I appreciate it all. Um, so I'm going to end the live stream for the three of you that are here on screen. Just give me 2, 3 minutes afterwards to kind of decompress and all that, and say my farewells. But for everybody that's watching the live stream, we hope that this was a enjoyable and educational stream. I definitely appreciate all of my guests and speakers tonight, my friends across various time zones and areas of the state in this country. Your time is greatly appreciated, and thank you so much for everything that you've contributed. Everyone that's watching, please be sure to check out the description area down below when this airs on the audio platforms, the show notes of the podcast. Check everything out. Check out Amelia's stuff with River Pine. Check out Eric's stuff with The Raven's Call and Word Reaver Productions. Check out Matt
Got my book.
Sarah with all of his music. Check out Blake with his Scaldic Works project. And check out Patrick's group, the Highland group. All of that stuff is linked down below.
Look up my
So,
book.
and your book, yes, the saga of Bjorn Thorolfsson. It's not linked down in the description, but I will be adding it later on. So if you go on to Amazon and search for the saga of Bjorn, Bjorn Thorolfsson, TH.
Orolfsson. Honestly,
Yeah.
you can take that right there. Eric Shervin. Plug it into Amazon. You got me.
Yeah.
A lot
It's a
easier.
really
There you
good
go.
book. I've read it. It's a very
Oh,
good
thank
book.
you.
I have a copy of it, and it is. It's wonderful. It's good fireside campfire reading. It does. It encapsulates great heathen family storytelling values. It is a short read. It's a good read. It's wholesome, and it's going to support a good man.
Oh,
So
thank you.
definitely check it out. And I want to thank you all. Thank you to all my patrons on Patreon. Thank you to my viewers on Facebook and YouTube and wherever it is that you're catching this and listening to this later on the audio platforms. Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful celebration of 7 years of Midgard Musings, and I look forward to the days, the weeks, the months, and the years that come forth from this. I didn't think that we'd be here 7 years doing anything to this capacity. I've thought of quitting a lot of
Slow
times.
and steady
You know what I
Oh,
mean?
growth.
I've thought of just throwing in the towel and saying the hell with it. But we're here now, and I appreciate it all. So thank you to all that have tuned in this week to watch and listen. If you're not going to be at the Viking Experience in Oxford, North Carolina this weekend, I hate it for you, but I will be there. So March 22nd and 23rd, come out there and say hi to me. I'd love to meet you. And to everybody else, thank you so much. Amelia, Eric, Blake, thank you so much. Stick around for just a few minutes. I'll debrief with you here shortly.
Yeah.
And all of you folks out here across all the platforms, may the gods continue to notice you, and may your ancestors smile upon you. And we'll see you in the next one.